Trying to fucking open my heart here and you're fucking playing with it.
Do you want some cereal? What the fuck is this?
Can you deal with that guy? Gets punched. Yep, sure, got it. I'm like,
Sweating. Feeling the walls closing in.
would you mind if I fired? So that would.
Well, I felt like I needed one, but
That
now I
would
don't.
insist
I held it back and my body's reabsorbed the fart.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Sorry I Don't podcast. Each week we review a different film, and this week it is The Mummy from 1999. So we always try and pick films that are definitely ridiculous, they might be amazing, and that's what we're here to discuss.
Yeah.
I'm Abby, and this is Claude and Swanny.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
So, The Mummy, 1999.
Yep.
Once again, this is a film that I have a lot of personal love for.
As do I.
And Claude, you're less familiar. Well, you've seen it before, but less familiar with it.
Yeah.
And that will set the mood for the rest of this podcast. No, so yeah, 1999, directed by Stephen Sommers, who did the sequels to The Mummy. He also weirdly did the G.I. Joe films most recently, but also did 2004's Van Helsing. Has anyone ever seen Van Helsing?
Never seen it.
I think you would love it, Claude. I think you would really like it, but still prefer The Mummy. I think you prefer Van Helsing.
Okay.
It's basically The Mummy, but gothic.
Sounds good.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to watch it.
Yeah, so I watched this film when I was like 6, definitely at the age of 6. I was saying this to Swanee last night. I was like, well, I know for a fact I watched it at that age because I remember when we started primary 2, we had to like write in this little like diary, like, what was your favourite colour and what was your favourite film? And I put The Mummy, and there was like one other kid in the class that had seen it, and it was like really cool that we had seen it because it was like a scary film. So that's probably why I made it like my whole personality.
Absolutely.
I was obsessed with ancient Egypt when I was younger. So I was watching like documentaries on how to like mummify a sheep and weird things like that.
A sheep?
Like, yeah, that was.
Why a sheep?
It was just they were just demonstrating
because they couldn't do it on a human.
how mummification happened, and that was like my stepmom when she first started going out with my dad. She was like 24, and she said that she came upstairs once, and I was just like watching a sheep be mummified on television, and she was like, "Do you want some cereal?" What the fuck is this? It's like, your daughter is really weird. I think she's going to kill me.
So I also had like a similar weird fascination with The Mummy. Basically, when I was like, it was one of those films. Like I like you when I was a kid. I loved ancient Egypt. Dinosaurs in ancient Egypt were my fucking jam. I could tell you
Titanic
everything.
in ancient Egypt.
Yeah. And then Titanic was there for me as well. But I told you about the sadness that caused in our family. So Titanic was a bit taboo, I guess, because you just start crying. But
You made that sound like one of your family members
was
was
on
a
the
victim of the
Titanic.
no, I was
Titanic.
referring to I was referring to an earlier podcast where I'd said my dad showed us it, me and my sister, when we were very young, and we got really upset that he had to invent a silly dance with yogurts to make us happy again. Talked about this in the last podcast, last season.
second ever podcast.
Last season. Anyway, point I'm making is, loved Egypt, loved all that stuff. You know, just that kind of. It was like that perfect blend of like history, spooky, curses, weird stuff. As you say, all the mummification stuff. So when the film came out, I was 6 years old when it came out, and I remember my cousin had it on VHS or something, and I don't know exactly how, but I saw one of the scenes in it. It's the scene where is it? I can't pronounce his name. The warden, where the warden dies to the scarab beetles. Yeah, I watched that scene as a kid, and I remember just being like, "This is terrifying. What the fuck is this? This is very, very. This is." And my mum was like, "Oh, that's you're too young to watch that." And I literally was so obsessed with the poster, like that evocative mummy sand face. I remember just being like so obsessed with it. I literally had dreams about watching the film. I'd wake up being like, "Oh, I'm so buzzing I watched that film," and be like, "Oh." Well, I'd be dreaming, going, "I'm finally watching this film, And then I'd wake up and be like, I've not seen that film.
So you dreamt about getting to watch The Mummy.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It's but it's not sad when it's creepy when you watch the mummification of sheep.
Yeah.
Mine was sad. I really wanted to see this fucking film. Really wanted to see it. I was obsessed with wanting to watch that film. And did it live up to the hype when I was a kid? Yes, it did. I loved it when I was a kid. And I've always reassessed it at different points throughout my life. So I was very excited when you chose to put it on this because I have a lot of affection for that film. It's kind of like one of those seminal texts, as it were. You stop laughing at me. I know I'm funny, but I'm trying to fucking open my heart here, and you're fucking playing with it. You're fucking stabbing it, Claude. What did you think of The Mummy?
I'd watched it at some point when I was younger. I can't remember when. It was very inconsequential to me, as kind of demonstrated by me watching it and being like, oh, I remember none of this. This film is just very meh to me in all aspects. Like, I don't dislike it, but I didn't feel anything from watching it. I like Ancient Egypt a lot as well. I think that when it's dramatised, I maybe find it a bit cringe.
I mean, fair.
I find that with a lot of historical stuff, though, like, Scottish history and stuff like that, like Braveheart. I don't dislike as much, but whenever it's not accurate to the plot, actually. Like,
to be fair though, like
history.
this is absolutely like no. I mean, it's not a period drama. There's nothing in this that is in any way accurate to not even ancient Egypt, but like the 1920s,
No.
where the like the sort of modern day or present day storyline is set.
no,
I don't know. It's
This film, my overarching kind of opinion of it is that the entire time I felt like somebody had just put it on 2 times speed, and I also just felt like the kind of beginning stages of that sort of, I said this to you last night and you were you seemed offended. That kind of Marvel comedy of being like, oh guys, he's right behind me, isn't he? Or like, can you deal with that guy? Gets punched. Yep, sure, got it. Like, that actually just makes my lungs shrivel up and die. It makes me look like the Mummy. It's just shite.
No, well, look, I get what you're saying, but like, no.
But I.
Well, that's the point of a podcast, isn't it? We can't even talk about it. We're just like, no, aye. Right, guys. So next week we're I get what you're saying. I think for me though, the fact that I get what you mean. It's clearly, I don't want to necessarily say it was an inspiration towards that kind of Marvel formula of those kind of that kind of humor. I get what you mean though. Isolated out, not isolated, compared to Marvel, you can just be like, oh, this is what I hate about those films, but now it's in this film.
I've explained it so many times before. I think I just hate slapstick. I don't like slapstick.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean doesn't do it for me.
Great.
This doesn't do it for me. Like, I can't have people like chasing each other around and like making funny noises and faces at each other, and like it just doesn't do it for me at all. I think I'm just no 5.
Well, I'm also no 5, and I love Mr. Bean. So make of that what you will,
Right. Should we get into the plot?
Yeah.
Okay. So we kind of have, like I said, it's almost like we've got 2 prologues. The first one is set actually in ancient Egypt. So we meet Imhotep and Anaxunamun. They are, she's the pharaoh's missus, basically, and he is shagging her. He's like the chief advisor to the pharaoh.
The high priest.
He's the high priest of the pharaoh. So they're kind of hooking up and they're caught by the pharaoh, so they kill him instantly. Like literally in the first 30 seconds of the film, they're absolutely stabbing him.
Yeah, I absolutely just love that opening score. It's so in your face, big, bold, silly, very hokey, mysterious, and it really sets that supernatural tone quite well, I think. And yeah, and also just little visual things. Like I love like the pharaoh knows, because the whole thing is she was never meant to be touched by any man but the pharaoh, and the pharaoh knows that she's been touched because her gold paint that's on her skin has been touched. Just little, like the film does lots of little things like that where it'll tell you something and it'll show you why it's done that. So it does show and tell very, very well. Hey, that rhymed. But yeah, that opening scene obviously it's just like Imhotep's there. They've killed the pharaoh. And then Imhotep's boys show up. I'm like, mate, you've killed the pharaoh. Fuck, let's go. And then suddenly the pharaoh's boys show up and are like, mate, you've killed the pharaoh, and kill her an axe on the moon. But before they kill her, she kills herself, saying, no man will touch me. Or what was it she says? He will not touch me. Or
my body is no longer his temple.
That's it. Oh, sick line.
I mean, I think, and I always forget because I've seen both like The Mummy and The Mummy Returns so much that like in my head sometimes they kind of get mashed together. But I'm like, oh, that's all we get of an axe on a moon in this. She's like so much more in the second one. Spoilies. But she's so cool and sexy, and I love her as a character. And she's just like in the first few seconds of this, but it's just ridiculous the level of drama that everyone in this situation has. I mean, when the pharaoh comes in and interrupts them hooking up, they don't just like stab him, they don't just kill him, they just start actually like whacking at him with like a machete at the same time. They're taking it in turns to stab him, and it's like, guys, calm down. And then obviously the pharaoh's guards run in because the pharaoh's being murdered, and they look like really shocked as if like they weren't expecting to be caught doing that. I'm like, what was the plan here?
Aye, what were you gonna do?
And then, like, and then she's like, oh, she's basically like, I'm not gonna leave you. And he's like, no, like, she was like, you have to escape because you're the only person that can resurrect me, because he's this high priest and he can basically do necromancy, I guess. But like, I'm like, this wasn't discussed beforehand.
No.
What was the plan?
No plan.
Let's hook up tonight, and then if we get interrupted by the Pharaoh of Egypt, we'll just like absolutely butcher this guy.
Yeah, I love that they were like, let's not hook up in the desert. Let's not hook up in like my house or, you know, your room. Let's just do it in the fucking throne room, man. Let's just do it.
There's like folk about.
Yeah, well, the pharaoh just walks in.
Listen, I'm on their side for the entirety of this film, to be honest. I think the entire plot of this film is outrageous because they are so victimised in it, and I'm on their side. So, fuck it.
Yeah. The only thing I will say, one of the first things I noticed in this rewatch, seeing Imhotep show up. What's the actor's name again? Pause. The first thing I noticed about this film, coming in, watching it again for the first time, was when Imhotep gets introduced, Arnold Vosloo. I just watched it and then I was immediately like, okay, I know he's looked up, he is from South Africa, I don't know his full heritage, but I remember just compared to everyone else, he looked quite white compared to everyone. And I just started smiling because I just thought about, I don't know if you've seen that meme, but it's like ancient Egypt in textbooks. And it's just like the whitest man ever wearing like a pharaoh's robe. If you can get that meme up at some point on the thing, that'd be very funny. But I just thought, I just immediately was like taken out of it by like, oh, High Priest of Egypt. Like the meme.
So yeah, like, and also what I love about this is that like in this, like you said, they're shown to be quite sympathetic characters. I mean, they're idiots, but like it's like a tragic love story.
Yeah.
It's a soap opera at the start.
It is like
I feel like we're coming to the season finale of like a six arc soap opera in ancient Egypt. Which, you know what? The implied narrative of that, I'd watch that. I want a prequel.
So watch that.
I want a prequel.
Would you would prefer that? Wouldn't
I would
you?
prefer
if
that.
it was their story.
I prefer that.
Leading up to that point.
I don't need to be ditzy bitch.
I love Ditchy Bitch.
This is
Ditchy bitch.
Fucking right.
ditchy
Try me on
bitch
your
have no
side
sexy
here.
be dancing.
I love Ditzy Bitch.
This is one of those ones where I do take it. It's like when people say that they can't watch New Girl. You say that you can't watch New Girl because you find Jess Day so annoying. I'm like, I always take that quite personally because
I have never said that. I would
Really?
watch New Girl. Yeah.
Huh.
I'm quite keen on watching New Girl. I've seen a couple of episodes and I love it.
Maybe other people have said that to me and I've just assumed that would be your
I've got
take.
that kind of vibe.
You do have that kind of vibe. No tolerance.
I mean,
And
she is annoying as
total-
fuck
She
in that
is
show.
annoying.
Totally like off topic, but did you know that who's the girl who plays Jess in it? What's her name again?
Hey, Zoe Deschanel.
Her family's from like somewhere so random. It was like Croy or something, or like Fife or something
What?
like that.
Oh,
Somewhere
she's
nearby.
married to one of the property brothers now, or she's getting married to one of the property brothers. I think they have like ties to Scotland as well.
No, her family is from like all her family is from like somewhere random, like Croy or something weird like
That's
that.
really bizarre.
Isn't it? Anyway, moving on.
I really want to fact check that, but I can't.
It's not Croy, but it's somewhere random like that where you'd
it's
be like,
somewhere-
what?
Random in Scotland. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The weird thing about this whole Imhotep thing is that, like, yes, they're idiots, but they're very like tragic love story. Then he just comes back as like a fucking dick.
Yeah.
And I get that that's like kind of a tropey thing where when someone's brought back from the dead, it's like they're now like an evil because of the curse and everything like that. But he dies being like, oh, I want to save my like one true love. And then he comes back and he still wants to save his one true love. But he's like, but also in the meantime, I'm going to kill as many people as I can, unleash the 10 plagues of Egypt.
I disagree. I don't think he comes back as a dick at all. I think that he has been like eaten to death. Well, we'll get into this. He's been eaten to death like slowly, and then he kind of wakes up, and then there's Americans taking like the organs of his dead wife away, and he's like, what the fuck? What did you expect him to do? Is he a dick? I don't think so.
And also, in some ways, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're like, yeah, you're such a dickhead, we're going to condemn you with the worst curse possible. If you ever get resurrected again, you'll be the most evil thing going. It's like, well, he's going to be a dick when he comes back. You put him there, you know?
The whole curse thing is very weird.
It doesn't quite make sense.
No, it's called the Hom-Dai. And basically, from what I can gather, like it's the absolute worst thing that can be inflicted. So I think basically they cut out your tongue while you're still alive. Which, ouch, by the way. Yeah. That's like an intrusive thought one. I feel like I can feel that.
Yeah.
And then you're like mummified alive, so they're like wrapping him up in bandages, and then they stick him in a sarcophagus, and then put these like flesh-eating scarab beetles in there. Get used to those; they're going to be coming back a lot. That will be a recurring theme on our tour today.
It will be.
But yeah, so they're locked in. He's locked into this coffin with this kind of like key thing, and again, that will become relevant in a very short amount of time. But that's it. That's what we get of ancient Egypt. Struck me last night watching this again for like the 1,000th time. Don't get a lot of ancient Egypt in the film.
You don't.
I would have liked more time in that.
Well, that's what's quite good about the sequel, though. You get a lot more of ancient Egypt than that, and the actual main villain in that is an actual ancient Egyptian god at one point. Because I'm pretty sure they get Anubis to come out. That's the whole thing. But no, the last thing I want to say about this opening in there is, obviously, it's very quick. It's like less than 3 or 4 minutes, and I love that. But
straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
I enjoy that. But also, I wanted more of the sexy high priest, and I don't know what her title would be.
Anaxamun, I guess.
That's her name, Anaxamun. But yeah, I get what you mean. But what I thought, the Pharaoh's whore. It's not his wife. We're giving her a disservice. Anyway, paramour. There you go. Paramour, that's a nice word for it. So, no, what I thought was really funny is, obviously we've talked about how Imhotep's boys just show up to help him. The Pharaoh's boys just show up to kill her. And then, just as he's resurrecting her, as she starts to come back to life, suddenly the Pharaoh's boys just pop up again. And obviously this is done for the edit. But in my head, I'm just like, man, can we just check our surroundings before we do anything in this fucking movie? No wonder you're getting caught.
Yeah, people are like having illicit affairs with the king's woman.
Yeah, the king's paramour.
The king's paramour. And then also like bringing people back from the dead, and like no
the
one's
temple next door.
The door.
Because the implication seems to be that he's not taking her to some secret place. He's just done it down the road.
He just went downstairs.
He just went downstairs. I will do it down here.
In like an open air kind of stadium coliseum deal. It's like you can do it inside, you can do it out in the desert, you can do it anywhere else. At all.
No, if they did it in a smaller space, there wouldn't be enough room for them to be stormed by an army every single time.
He's just trying to exude as much rizz as possible. He's like, this is not cool if I do it in my danky wee bedroom, but if I do it out in the throne room, if I do it out in this like coliseum, that'll be pretty class when she wakes up.
Yeah,
get a great blowjob from that.
Really, really good production value from the high priest.
Yep.
Imhotep. So,
what do you mean? Oh, right, where he's picking to go.
Yeah.
But generally, the production value in this film is class.
He's got some great stage presence whenever he's doing his wee rituals. So you're like, oh, sexy. Love that. But yeah, so that's the end of the first prologue. And then we're kind of in like a second prologue. So now we're in Hamunaptra in 1923. So Hamunaptra, we discover, is like a sort of mythical place that half exists, half doesn't. It is debated.
I'm pretty sure that's where that's where the first prologue is set.
Yeah.
So we're back there, but it's 1920s now.
1920s. So I don't really know who is battling who.
Yeah, we're basically kind of dealing with the ramifications of fucking the Western powers kind of fucking up the Middle East or Egypt, North Africa after World War One, and they're all just fighting. Because if you look into that history, I tried to do a bit of it last night, and I was just like, fucking hell, there's so much of these guys attacked these guys and they invaded, but they owed this. So basically, we're in a conflict between what looks like mercenaries that have been hired by some side of various ethnicities against the people who clearly have an ancestral claim to the desert. So we've got a bunch of like white guys, we've also got a bunch of non-white guys with guns fighting against a bunch of like raiders from the dunes sort of thing, coming with their swords. And I remember as a kid just being like, this is fucking class. Because it's just line of soldiers straight up. And then that's also where we meet our two main characters.
Yes. No.
Yes, it is.
Not our two main characters.
We meet, in my mind, the two main characters. Because in my mind...
in what world
in
are
my
Rick
mind,
and Benny the two main characters?
No, this is my theory. This is my take on it. The two main characters are them. They're the real relationship that I care about during this film. Look, I love Rachel Weisz, but she's so good and singular on her own. She doesn't need Rick O'Connell to be cool. But Benny needs Rick, and Rick needs Benny.
The Mummy as a buddy comedy with the two of them is actually a very funny pitch.
Yeah, as a bromance.
I mean, it kind of already is
Well,
that.
that's what I mean.
But if that was just like the main focus, because it's already kind of, as you've said, like very slapstick and very, I'm a dumb American and I've, messed about with this ancient black magic sort of vibe. The idea of it just being the two of them as the focus is, yeah, I would watch that film. I would still want this film to exist. I don't want that more than I like this film.
I want all of them. I want all that it takes.
But yeah, so in this section, here's what happens. So we have this sort of battle going on, and it's in Hamnaptra. Later on, we discovered that it's because they literally went in without orders, because they believe so much in this treasure that is rumoured to be there.
Yeah.
We meet Benny, who I've just named Wee Shitebag. That's essentially his characterization.
Played by Kevin J. O'Connor.
And Rick, who I've characterised as Big Sexy.
Big Sexy. Well, that kind of conflicts with our Twin Peaks chat, though.
I know,
For the
but there can
context
be
of
a
this.
Big Sexy. There can be more than one Big Sexy.
I'll take that. That's fine. But yeah, Brendan Fraser, never been better. This is probably, in my opinion, possibly his best role in my mind. Like it's easy to be boring as a leading man. Have a look at anything that Chris Pratt is in. Shout out to his family. But Brendan Fraser just it could be very one note, and he gives such life to the role. He just feels like you feel safe around him. You feel like you can get a laugh out of him.
So just as you feel safe around him, like just feels like something like Swanny's like written in his diary.
Oh, I did. Yeah, like when I was 6 years old.
I want to be held.
I want to be
big, strong
I wanted to be held by stinky Rick O'Connell when he's in the prison cell later.
Oh, right, okay. I was like, why have you added in that he has to be stinky for this? Like, what?
I didn't do that. Okay. Moving swiftly on.
So
You have specified that you want him to hold you while he's stinky, though. There's a lot of the film where he's no stinky, but you're like, when he's stinky, he can hold me.
I was trying to be funny, right? Trying to be silly. Woo, cookie, clancy.
I'm playing along.
And I'm a diddy. I'm a diddy.
I'm a diddy.
And I'm a diddy. Yes, I'm a fucking idiot. Oh, God. I've come straight from work. I am shattered. And Abby and I were also drinking till very late last night. Just throwing you in it too, mate. Just so now when people will be like, oh, that's why Abby's fucking it. You're not fucking it. I'm just saying preemptively, I'm going to shut up. Aye. So
in this section of the film,
absolutely.
So we meet Benny, we meet Rick. They appear to be fighting together, but it looks as if there's not a great amount of loyalty between them, which is evidenced very quickly because Bendy. Wee Bendy Shitebag.
Wee Bendy Shitebag.
Wee Bendy Shitebag abandons Rick in the desert because it looks like they're going to lose. Things are not looking good for them, but then whilst Rick is being chased about the desert, suddenly the army is completely scared off by what can only be described as basically a massive sand monster in the shape of a face. He's obviously like, what the hell is this? And gets to fuck as quickly as possible. And then there is a group called the Magi. The Magi. And they're kind of like, riding horses or camels, and they're in the desert, and they're just always like overseeing everything and making kind of like ominous comments. It's basically
that's who the narrator is. It's what's the actor's name? Oded Fair.
Yeah.
He's so good in it.
He's like the kind of main one in the Magi.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like
sexy.
Oh, he is sexy.
Yeah.
He's my wee sexy for the film.
We discussed this last night. It's like there's like a kind of like calming presence. Like a sort of
I want him to hold me. Well, he's stinky.
Yeah.
I hate the word stinky so much.
Bogging,
Like,
isn't
it's
it?
actually one of my least favourite words of all time. And I don't like that we've said it so many times in such a short space. It's like making my skin crawl.
So, things I like in this sequence.
Yep.
I
Sorry, 2 seconds.
Go for it. Continue.
He's overseeing him as Rick runs off into the desert and he's like, the desert will kill him. And that's where the second prologue ends.
Perfect. So things I like, right? I didn't actually take many notes. I just wrote class, no notes. Their tactics are sound, but outnumbered. But they're outnumbered, they get fucked up in the battle. Great. But talking about Benny and Rick's friendship, I love it. Like, we get them first. And the first moment of them together for this bromance is they watch as their commanding officer fucking flees. And he just leaves. They look at each other, then Benny hits out with the best line so far. Looks like you got a promotion. And then Rick's like, yep, cool, Benny, we're going to do this together, buddy. Me and you. Love you, man. We're going to die together, fight. And then he turns over and Benny's fucked off. Love that. And then you also, we should point out, Benny doesn't just run away. Benny also actively stops Rick from hiding in the temple with him.
Aye.
What was that about? Why does he want Rick to die?
He doesn't want Rick to die. He's just selfish. And
He's
he's
just
like,
so
no
selfish.
chances, no chances.
But the way the actor does it,
This
though.
is exactly what I mean, though. See, you're like, oh, that bit's great. This is exactly what I mean by Marvel slapstick shite humor, where it's like, you've got my back, right, buddy? Buddy? And you turn around and he's ran away. That's exact kind of shit.
But that's just comedy, though. The issue with Marvel do it is they do it all the time with everything, and it's like, hey man, whoa, funny. Ha. Whereas this is a bit like, at least we're
Hanging out
seeing.
with Swanny.
Right.
I can understand liking this humor, but I think you need to accept that it is very similar,
it's
and
so
it does
similar.
occur a lot in this film.
It's so similar.
and if it's not your cup of tea, it's excruciating to
I get
watch.
you. I would just, because I don't like when Marvel do it, but I think in isolation, in a film like this, if they do it well and the rest of the film holds up and has something going on with it, then I think it can work.
Listen, I get it. I think the musicals are cringe 90% of the time, but two of my favourite films in the
Agreed.
world are musicals.
I was so
Fair
quick.
point.
I was so quick to do that.
Wait.
Look at her. Fucking didn't even let you fucking
I know,
breathe.
I get it. It was in an episode of the podcast. We all know. We were all there, Abby.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of musicals either, but I'm not going to go and talk about
We're
musicals.
not talking about Rat Sad.
Marat's Sad. Great musical. Check it out, folks. We're never going to do it on the podcast. They will not let me do
You can
Marat's
have
Sad.
a 60-second TikTok to talk about Rat Sad.
I will do that.
And I will
Check it
decide
out.
whether or not to post it.
No, I will be posting it. I've got access to the account too. Don't I, Cummy? That was the Cammy. We'll cut it out. We'll cut it out because it doesn't make. I realise it doesn't make any sense. It just sounds like I went Cummy.
So for context,
No,
you could do
we're
is,
not.
like,
No.
Swanny has come up with a hilarious bit of patter. He's really, really, really proud of this.
Clearly
and
not.
he wants to share it with you all.
Clearly not.
Right now. Go on, Swanny.
I don't-
Share it
Go
with the
on.
rest of the class.
What?
This is
So-
like when the
so,
teacher's like,
fuck,
are you
right,
proud
right,
of yourself?
right, well, let-
Are you proud of bullying that boy? You tell everybody exactly what you said about him if you're so proud of it.
Okay, so our lovely producer, and editor, and orchestrator of all this, Cammy Hunter. I called him Cummy Cunter today because I'm very
Shite.
funny. I'm shocking.
Swanny's just like the older kid in class just picks on you.
I think he made one joke.
Hey, look, it's Cummy Cunter.
Yeah, I think he made one little joke.
What are you doing on
against
your
me.
little computer, nerd?
I think we've got it recorded. He says something, I just kind of go, Cummy Cunter, and then you laughed, and that's the rest is history.
Basically just making fun of Cammy to impress the girls.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that one. But
Which
yes,
also, just on the subject of that, someone that I work with today sarcastically tried to say, like, because they were telling them they were grumpy, and they tried to sarcastically say, no, I'm a bundle of joy, but instead they called themselves a jundle of boy.
a jundle of boy. I'm going to write
Just knew, I was like, in my head, Swanny's already writing that down.
Yep, done.
I'm a jundle of
A
boy.
jundle of
Benny is a
boy.
jundle of boy.
Benny is
Oh,
a jundle
yes.
of boy.
Right, so
Bendy Shitebag is a jundle of boy.
so back to Benny. I just think that's really funny. And also, every time he does something like evil, he does like the most evil little face with his eyes. He's just like, it looks like a little rat man, and then shuts the door.
He's
Rick.
got such rat vibes.
He's great though.
He's got very bad vibes. There's a point actually later on in this film where he kind of like jumps out a window, and I thought he'd been possessed because he just looks that unhinged, and I was like, no, that's him just like getting in the vibe, him joining the mob mentality, just like sort of shirking about, being, you know, basically his whole thing is that he's just got no loyalty to anyone other than trying to save his own skin. And although that's a very simple character trait, it's very entertaining
and he's
to watch.
but he does it with such an endearing presence. Like if it was a different actor, you just absolutely just hate the guy.
He's helpless, he's hopeless, he's useless. Yeah, he's shite at everything.
And I think Rick,
he's a gentle boy.
He's a gentle boy, and I think his relationship with Rick really humanizes him, even though he's always fucking over Rick. I think Rick being a bit sounder, but still battering him, but ultimately trying to like kind of look out for him. It's just
Rick tries to kill him like in the first 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah, but then he doesn't really. He just tries to batter him.
He throws him overboard.
Yeah, that's not killing him though.
In the Nile, like later on,
he then jumps into the Nile.
They all jump out and they like walk to the other side of the river. It's not like a death situation. It was more just like he was like razzing him.
Yeah. And like
get off my boat.
Yeah, because like even at the very end, he tries to save him. Like, despite all the shit that he's done in the movie, he tries to save. Anyway,
we're not at the end of the film. So Brendan Fraser survives the battle. He manages to escape. He's all good, and that leads us to we're no longer in prologue. We're in Nowlog.
We're now like
although we've still got more characters to introduce.
Yeah, so we're now in the Cairo Museum, and we meet our lead female. She is a librarian there, and we meet her because she knocks down basically the entire library.
Fucking Laurel and Hardy pish, man. That was what like ruined this film for me immediately. I was like, I'm gonna hate this.
The light behind Claude's eyes it was extinguished.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Whoopsies! I've just like fucked the entire Egyptian museum. They're probably the only one.
Yeah, like it's like a domino effect.
Whoops! Shut up. She knocks over a bunch of bookshelves because she's been lazy and can't be bothered moving her ladder. So she like bumps into one of them and they all fall over.
We get a really weird joke as well. She's like going through, so Socrates will go next to this. And she goes, Thutimus, what are you doing next to Socrates? I'm like, mate, the letter S and T are next to one another. What are you talking about? So then she's like, oh, but it goes in there. So I don't get that. But then causes the collapse.
You're not a librarian.
Oh, yeah, fair. I almost was. But we'll get to that. I've applied for several librarian jobs in the past. I really like to do that. And then I went back to tourism and I like that more.
You could never be quiet enough to work in a library.
Well, that's like the worst job you could do.
No.
It's quiet, it's slow paced.
But the idea was to sit and just write all day. That was the plan.
The idea was to not do the job.
Yes, the idea with any job I get is to not do the job as much as I can.
On a podcast?
Obviously, it's different when you're a tour guide.
But you might have other jobs in the future. This isn't the end of the line.
Oh, don't hire me then. Oh no, they're going to hit prospective employers. Oh,
I can't. I love the image in my head I've conjured up of like men in suits around a table just showing you this clip and being like, that's you.
That's you, mate. You fucked it. Mate, I was going to give you that promotion, but then I saw season 2, episode 4 or 5, whatever the fuck episode we're on now. I saw that episode of your podcast, mate, and I heard that. And you know what, man? Everyone just clicked into place. You're a bullshitter, man. And you got me.
You're a juggler boy.
68 hours of podcast before we found the one shred. I mean, there's probably things you've already said in this podcast that would preclude you from that interview situation.
I hope not. Wait, what? So I can't change careers now because of this? Wait now, am I locked? Sweating. Feeling the walls closing in.
Back to the mummy.
I feel wrapped up like a mummy. Hit me, that was shite. Pat or slap. Anyway.
Hit me, baby, that was shite.
Hit me, baby, that was shite.
Yeah, like hit me, baby, one more time.
Oh, hit me, baby, that was shite. I'm with you. I'm with you. That's good. That is good. Good soup. Anyway, continuing on. That's not right. That's established patter. It's not my patter. I'm quoting bad patter. Fine, I'll take the slap. Anyway,
back to the mummy.
Yes. So do you know that scene where she?
Can I talk?
No, but I want to talk about that sequence. Jesus.
Can I go through the?
Oh yes, sorry. That's the idea. We go through the whole thing, then we talk about it. My apologies. Go.
Yeah. So we meet Evie. She knocks down loads of stuff, but she's really hot. Clumsy cow, but hot.
Rachel Weisz.
The museum curator that obviously runs the museum, he kind of can't stand her, but she's there because her parents were patrons of the museum and I guess they're both dead, so he's like feels obligated to look after her. We meet her brother Jonathan. He's fucking about with some like actual ancient artifacts and like a mummy, like an actual corpse, like somebody's dead body. He's just like joking about with it, doing a bit, which begins a long theme of these historians, librarians, like archaeologists just destroying historical artifacts
Which
of
is
importance.
historically accurate.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's on the nose. But he's found, in inverted commas, this kind of weird box thing, which we know from seeing the prologue is the key to Imhotep's coffin. Inside it, there's a map, and Evie looks at it and it's like, I think this is a map to Hamunaptra, this place that people don't know whether it exists or not. And they show it to the museum curator, and he very slapstickily, unfortunately for Claude, accidentally sets the map on fire. So they put out the fire and they're like, right, what are we going to do? We want to try and find Hamunaptra. And then Jonathan reveals that he actually stole the key from a guy in a bar fight. So they're going to go and speak to him. And that's the end of the section in the museum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the introduction. We've now met all of the main characters at this stage. And yeah, obviously. And I said this to you as well. I was like, it's so funny, like talking about the mummy and sex dreams and things like that. A lot of people, especially online, there's like so many memes that are like that first still when you see her, be like, oh my god, this is my sexual awakening. And to be fair, like it wasn't, I've never been attracted to her in that sense, other than being like, oh my god, she's so pretty, like she's so hot, I want to be like her. But I get that kind of like magnetism. It's so funny to me how thoroughly unimpressed you were with her.
She is beautiful. I'll give her that. But in every other sense, she was just mortifying. And I get it. I know. Oh, it was on purpose. Oh, I get it, right? But it's shite. It's just no funny. It's just like, oh, I'm too small to reach this book. Oh, it's like, let's
Never
compare
says that.
hands. Like,
Never says that.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Can I speak without
course.
you interrupting? Is that okay?
I'm adding commentary on top of it.
Yeah,
To make
that's
a joke.
interrupting. That is actually what that is. That's the definition of interrupting. So when you speak when someone else is speaking, that's interrupting.
No, it's adding,
That's what that is.
It's adding layers onto it.
The layer is no wrong shit.
Yeah. That's the power. It's almost like we're doing a podcast, you know, and we're commenting on what we're saying. Anyway, continue.
Aye, my point is that I just think that it's embarrassing. I don't know. I just think that it's like, I get that it's on purpose, but it's just the whole kind of slapsticky thing, isn't it? And it's like, oh, I'm so silly, and I'm just like knocking these like artifacts and books over, and I'm just like, oh, what am I like? And I'm just like, man, just grow up. How are you working here?
I get you. I think you're over-exaggerating a bit, but I get you. I think she's a fucking idiot. She is. And
Most of the characters in this are like this, and
They're
like,
cartoonish.
yes.
Yeah, they're all very broad. But
I will challenge you on this though. She is, a lot of the criticisms you've levied against her character could also be applied to Bella Swan.
Yes, but like
This is a very different film.
That's Twilight. I know it's shite.
fair.
I've been told the mummy's good.
That's Twilight.
I didn't.
It's shite, says the girl who gave it 10 out of 10.
Yes. And
To
then,
another girl who gave it 10 out of 10.
yes.
The
And
mummy.
And then as soon as I say, yeah, Twilight's a bit shite, you guys go, it's a bit. So, yeah, I'm always stuck in the middle with this in this debate. So I will shut up.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say something there.
No, I was done.
But yeah, so this sequence. So do you know what? Obviously, she knocks over all the bookcases, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did that scene in one shot. They had to do it in one take because they did not want to reset the room for another take because it's 20 full bookshelves collapse over.
Yeah.
And I just imagine that being like, guys, please, is everything running? Is everything going? Because if we fuck it, you are putting it back together. And I'm glad they didn't. But that'd been very funny.
I can't imagine why they decided that this is what they were going to do, and how much unbridled rage it caused me that this was an aspect of the film that I had to sit through. Like, just like, oh, whoopsies, like I've just stepped on a rake and it's hit me in the face. Like, grow up! What is this?
There is good power to be mined from that. Like that. There's a really good Simpsons episode where he keeps walking on rakes. Very funny.
But I will say that, so when you're saying about can you imagine being the person that has to reset the room if you fuck up that take? It just reminded me, and I actually had not thought about this in years. When I was like 14 and Les Mis had just come out, I think I read somewhere that when she's singing A Dream to Dream and what would later turn out to be an Oscar-winning performance, Anne Hathaway's hair like actually gets like cut off, like shaved off basically, live, and she was singing whilst it was all going on and they were filming it. And I remember thinking, like, can you imagine if you were like the camera guy and you had like forgot to press record and you've just got a bald Anne Hathaway just giving the performance of a lifetime and you fucked it up? I used to have stress dreams about being that person. I used to have actual nightmares that I was filming Anne Hathaway
How
get her
did
head
you
shaved.
ever get into TV?
right. To prove to herself that she wouldn't be that person.
It's like exposure therapy.
yeah. Get me over my fear. But yeah, is there anything else I can say about this library? Oh, obviously Jonathan's introduction.
Yeah, we need to talk about Jonathan.
John Hannah. John Hannah?
Yep.
Yeah, John Hannah. Absolutely brilliant. So good. He's not in a lot of stuff, but every time he's in it, he absolutely fucking nails it. It's, again, possibly my favourite role of his. He's really good in Four Winds and a Funeral as well. But there's more. He's got more to play with in this kind of film. But it's literally just me and you hanging about the flat.
It literally is just
like,
me as well.
It's literally me just hiding in the flat, scaring you, or like...
And also me just being incredibly like anxious about everything that you do, being offensive or upsetting or loud or disruptive.
And I'm just like, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, yes, this was actually this was a map written by Seti the First. And I'm like, oh, this Seti, is he rich, by the way? Do you know what I mean?
Also just him like literally lying in the coffin with like an actual mummy, and he's just like, and she's like, can you not please have some respect for the dead? Oh my god, this is so
like,
stressful. This is my place of work, Swanny. Literally my whole job is like looking after and preserving historical artifacts, and you've decided to come in here with some
I've just destroyed the library.
That's the thing as well. It's always because I've already done something shite, and I'm like, please, we cannot make this any worse.
And I'm like, how much worse can it be? I'm sitting playing with the guy's jaw, like pretending he's speaking to you, and I'm like, you've already fucked the library. The job's done, man. The librarian literally just said, what was he said? Evie was like, sorry, I'm a disaster, and he was like, no, Ramesses invading Syria was a disaster. You're a catastrophe. And honestly, I feel myself echoing that back. Like,
Give me frogs, flies, and locusts. Anything but you.
That's exactly how you felt.
But yeah, but look, it's great. We get it set up very, very quick, and this film is another example of films that are quite good at just giving you exposition quite quickly, and then we're jumping on to the next sequence.
Yep. So next sequence is they go to see Rick, who is in prison for an undetermined reason. According to the warden, who is a character that we all love, he said that he was just trying to have a good time.
Hand up. Is it no because he's been in a bar fight with John Hannah and he's been arrested for it?
Possibly.
Maybe. I don't know whether
because he's, I don't know, supposed to be a rogue.
Yeah, I mean,
and John Hannah's like, I don't know, a fancy
slippery
man.
Yeah, he's got out of the situation. Maybe that's why. But he was in jail, and then basically they go over and they try and like ask him, has he been to Hamunaptra? Does he know how to get there? He kisses Evie through the prison bars, and then he's carted off, and it's turned out that he's taken away to be hanged. So there's going to be a big public execution, and Evie manages to barter with the warden to set him free by revealing that he knows where Hamunaptra is, and if they went and got the treasure, she would give him a cut of the profits. Yeah. So he is released, and that's the end of that sort of
section.
Yeah.
So like immediately, the warden is one of our favourite characters straight away, played by
contender for Rogue.
Yeah, Iranian British actor Omid Djalali. I think that's how you pronounce it. So funny. If you've ever seen his stand-up, you should watch it, because he basically is just that on stage, but talking about his real life. He's very, very funny. And I think he was given I read he was given a lot of like free rein to kind of improvise some of his dialogue. Like he does the ukulele, he does that at one point, which is clearly just him fucking having fun with the material, and like he later dies, spoilies, and you and Cammy were so fucking like, what? No, Cammy literally was like, I don't want to watch the film anymore, because he was just like, I fucking love this guy. And obviously for me, that was my entry point to The Mummy, was
the thing.
that character.
They just progressively kill off all the funniest characters and just leave us with fucking Ditsy McGee and like.
But Benny's amazing.
Benny is amazing.
And like Brendan Fraser's like a bit of eye candy, but you know he's a bit kind of like Harrison Ford and Star Wars kind of vibe.
Well,
about
Indiana
him.
Jones, really.
Or Han Solo.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that kind of definite inspiration from Indiana Jones as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. This film's like so
clearly
Yeah,
coded to that.
yeah.
Well, that was the whole thing because they were trying to because obviously it's based on the 1930s mummy movies, which are more like black and white horror films. So the whole point, like apparently when they were doing the production, like they were trying to make this film since the 1980s, and they were kept trying like, how do we do it? So obviously 1980s, by this point, Indiana Jones is big, so like, right, do we do it like that? But then they were like, we still need to get the horror into it. And then obviously as they're getting into like, they want it to be quite funny as well. They basically wanted this not to just be a niche horror film or an adventure film. They wanted it to be quite broad. So you get your comedy, your horror, and your action adventure. And for me, maybe not for you, but for me, that worked really well together.
Claude completely dissociated during that.
Yep.
You looked like you'd gone to a very dark place.
I was like meditating.
Count 5 things you can
Oh
hear.
my god! So like the other weekend we went to Loch Leven. And I decided to get in the loch because I was having my wee manic pixie dream girl moment of being near the water, and I think we managed to cajole Claude into giving it a go.
And so I weighed out as well. I
was
started
being-
standing.
Me and Swanny were like splashing
Being
about.
compared to a cat.
Yeah, I was like, Claude just looks like a cat. You're like one toe in the water, and you're like
Like
freaking out.
pure black.
So like she's now like maybe like halfway up her calf deep, and you're just like standing with your eyes shut, like just kind of like taking deep breaths. And I turned to Swanny and I was like, Claude's naming 5 things she can see, 4 things she can hear, etc., etc.
Which was funny.
And then I think you had overheard me, and you're like, "Have you just said I'm doing this? I actually am."
So funny.
It was painful, man.
It was great.
And you make me do that when you're talking.
When I start, all right, cool.
Just when you're
Giving facts.
The 4
discussing the
things you can
film.
hear, and they're all Swanny.
5 things in here. Swanny breathing, Swanny moving.
Voices in Swanny's
3
head.
things I can feel. Swanny's arm, Swanny's breath, Swanny's farts.
No farts yet.
Your breath's stinking.
Is it? Have I got coffee breath?
Yeah.
Coffee, egg, and bacon breath.
That's great, man.
Is it actually that big? Oh, it's a wee rancid. Can I get a wee bit? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm going to not get any chuggy. No chuggy mint. That's chewing gum for the uninitiated.
I know what chuggy
I
is.
can't believe you're getting so para about having a smelly breath on a podcast.
Because she's going to be a dick about it. I'm going to fucking. She's going to have a panic attack
I'll
next
be
to
fine
me.
about it if you don't breathe into my face on purpose.
Oh,
But I don't like the idea to think. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
right.
So yeah, love that. So as I say, Omid Djalali is fucking class, so funny. The warden, apparently he had a very good time. All that shit, so good, class, very funny. He and also Jonathan's chemistry with him is so good because Jonathan's like, Rick's like, who are you? Or the warden's like, who are you to Jonathan? And he's just like, oh, you know, this is just me making something up. Oh, you know, I'm just a local missionary chap spreading the good word. It's like roll bluff, rolls a 7. Rick does not believe him and then later realizes who he is and punches Jonathan through the bars of the cell. So he punches Jonathan and then winches Evie. What a Chad. What a Chad move.
What a chat move.
Is that shocking to say?
It's just not what I expected to come
No,
out.
you expected?
No.
What a sexy move. What a big sexy move that was.
You're always screaming the word sexy at us in different
I don't
contexts.
think that's true, but we'll keep moving. Anyway, so
So yeah,
but also Brendan Fraser in this scene, it honestly looks like they've just dragged him off the set of George of the Jungle.
It does.
Because he's just got that long hair, loincloth basically dragged out, etc.
he looks good.
He does look good. That's what I was talking about, the stinky.
But he looks even better in the next sequence. So they're about to get on the boat that's going to take them to the sort of site of Ham and Aptra. And then Rick O'Connell, big sexy, shows up, but he's like clean shaven. He's literally scrubbed up well. And Evie, from this point forward, is just like absolutely Bella Swan, like Baby from Dirty Dancing. I'm noticing that these are a lot of my favourite films that I'm writing up. But basically, she just becomes completely pathetic
Oh,
for
Abby.
the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
Revelation.
this week on Abby's therapy sessions,
I feel like at this point everything's going to glitch and I'm going to look around and yous aren't real.
I often feel that way.
But no, so he's looking extra sexy. She is, very like, oh my goodness, like swooning about him. And they get on the boat. We meet the American treasure hunters.
Yeah, this is so cool.
Who are just like an actual bunch of clowns. And they will continue to amuse me through the rest of the film that we get to spend with them. So they're kind of gambling with Jonathan. Rick is like, can you stop giving away the secrets of what we're doing, please? They decide to have a bit of a sort of wager about who's going to make it there first, and they know that they're both kind of in a race to find the treasure. The reason that they are there is because our friend Benny has come back. He is the one that's offered to lead them into Hamanatra. So we've got like two sort of teams going against each other, racing against each other. The warden has also appeared on the boat because he wants to protect his investment and make sure that they make it there and that he gets his fair cut that he was promised. But whilst we're on the boat, the Magi then also shows up. So basically everyone's here. They attack Evie. They're trying to basically get the key for the coffin and the map from Hamanatra off of her. We still don't know exactly what's going on with them at this point. Yeah. But Rick comes in, manages to save her. The boat's on fire. Basically, a candle falls over at some point, and then the next like 10 minutes of the film are just a fiery mess. Everyone ends up in the water. They've lost the map, but it's fine because Rick knows where he's going. They have the key still, and the two teams manage to escape and end up on different sides of the river. So the race to Hamanatra continues from there.
Absolutely.
I've just had a revelation that I think is going to be extremely controversial, but
Here we go.
But I'm going to say it anyway. I think that this film would be very different, but have the exact same outcome if you replaced Brendan Fraser with Rowan Atkinson, with just the overwhelming clumsiness in which he does everything. It's like the reason why the boat goes on fire is because he fucks it and sets on fire. Later on, there's like little scarab beetles running towards him, and he's shooting at them. And he like throws a fiery stick at. He treats everything like a caveman, and that's why everything ends up getting. Well, not necessarily just Brendan Fraser, but all these characters in the film. If you just like mush them all together,
better. Rowan Atkinson plays every single character in the film.
Yes,
I would.
It would have
that.
the exact same.
I would like it more.
Conclusion.
This would possibly
it would be a different film, but it'd have the same conclusion.
Yeah, possibly a 10 out of 10 film for me if Rowan Atkinson played every character, apart from Omid the Jalali. It's like the Muppets, you like
and Benny.
And Benny.
The Muppets, but every Muppet is Rowan Atkinson.
yeah. Do you hear that thing about like what is a film that you'd put all the Muppets in, but keep what character would you keep as a human? Yeah. This was what I do. But everyone's Rowan Atkinson except from Omid the Jalali.
Nobody's a Muppet.
No one's a
Oh
Muppet.
my
But you know,
God. Mate, we should do at the end of every podcast. We should do if this was the Muppets, who would you keep as the one human character for every film that we review?
That's a good one. I like
Okay, cool.
So starting off with this one, it's the warden is the one we keep as the human character.
That'd be so funny.
And everyone else
Benny.
is Rowan
Or Benny.
Atkinson. Benny being the one human is very funny.
I'll decide that in the end. But yeah,
basically, I was going to say, in counter to your Rowan Atkinson thing, I don't necessarily think that Rick is clumsy. I think he's just so ridiculously cocky that he kind of like throws caution to the wind to an absolutely comical extent. Like his sort of life view is it's fine, or I'll be fine because I'm sexy.
It's
I'm too hot for anything bad to happen to me.
And fair
he's
enough.
correct.
I don't know if it's quite I'm too hot for anything to happen to me. I think it's more just like I am going to fucking just do something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm going to react.
Act now, think later.
Yeah. He's the epitome of just being brash and fucking going for it. And he gets away with it more because he is sexy.
But like it is like a big mashed potato of all these characters would be the exact same result because they all do. Like they're always like, I wonder what would happen if I did this, and then everything explodes and spews and shits itself and dies. Like every time.
I love that though.
I
Like,
love it too.
Because I think the thing is, like, I think Marvel films for me,
it's not criticism.
No, I know. But I think like the sort of that kind of like kind of cheesy humor. It's like campness. Actually, I think is what it is. I totally am on board with that when it's like this kind of film where I love that everything feels, because it almost feels like the set and the timing of like the pyrotechnics and all that kind of thing is also like part of the gag, and you can tell that everything's set to a timer, and that some poor wee runner's going to have to come in and set all the books back on this bookshelf if we don't get this take right. And it feels soundstagey, and that's the thing. I think my problem with like Marvel films and stuff like that, it's not necessarily like the humor, but just like the charmlessness of them.
I think it is. You hit on the nail there. It's the practicalness of it.
Yeah,
like the fact, like I will take a big silly stupid Marvel quippy humor if the film is on a set with pyrotechnics, actors acting and reacting to actually each other, and it's not just on a big CGI screen. If you're going to do that, it has to be very well done, and a lot of times it's not. Whereas with this, it's class just to have a big set to fuck about on.
Then why does the mummy not have a costume? Why does it actually look like a shite smear in a toilet?
So because
for half the film.
the boggy.
So because it's that we're actually,
why does it have such a boggy?
Boggy returns.
The boggy returns. So the reason that the mummy has a boggy is because we're at a transitionary period in film history at this point. 1999, CGI is just really taken off. George Lucas has decided he's going to start doing the Star Wars prequel trilogy because the CGI is up to the scratch. Lord of the Rings is filming at this time. We're really beginning this revolution with CGI technology. So I think for them at the time, they're like, we can actually do this. You got to imagine, these are guys who've been in the film industry for almost 100 years who've not been able to do computer-generated graphics. They've had to do everything practical. So now, with the advent of all this technology, they're like, shit, we can just do it with CGI. And yes, it is definitely dated now. Didn't help that we watched it on a shitty stream last night. And, well, not shitty, but the quality wasn't as high for a first-time viewing, I guess. So that would be my argument with it. It's a product of its time.
Mummy looks like a fucking squid stain.
Yeah, it
does. That's my point.
It does.
It does actually. For a lot of it look a bit skid marky.
It does.
Very skid marky. Well, look, he is.
It does. It's just that you're like,
he's being
it's
digested.
so practical, and like, but it's called the mummy. Why has the mummy not got a costume? Why is the mummy not practical?
Oh, I agree.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I just explained it, but I did.
All right.
But like, I get what you're saying. It is a product of its time. Does it look like shit? Yes. Does it literally look like shit? Literally look like shit? Yes, it does. But yeah, because for me, my favourite costume is when it is practical. Do you know what I mean?
I've just realised what the mummy reminds me of. So when you're saying that it looks like a shit stain there, I was like, there's something specific that it reminds me of. You know, on like how you get on packets of cigarettes, they show you like what somebody's lungs looks like after like 70 years of smoking. It looks like the mummy is all just made from those.
Yeah. Oh my god! All the different shots are just that fucking body.
That's what they used to. Yeah,
That boggy.
But yeah, so I think my sort of biggest takeaway from this is the introduction of the treasure hunters. Now they obviously become a much larger part of the film into the next section that we're going to talk about. So
last thing I want to say, just about those Americans. I love, like, they're all little stereotypes, they're all cliches, and they're all just there. And I also love that immediately Jonathan is sitting gambling and playing Texas Hold'em with them or playing poker. Because that's exactly what I would do.
It's exactly what you would do. It would be, you would be like, oh, we're going to go to Hamanaptra and we have this guy and he's going to show us the way and we have a map and we have a key. And then it's like, Swanny, what are you doing?
I can imagine saying that and then you being there with your man, and then you're just like, can you fucking shut him up? And then the guy just grabs me, because that's what Rick does. He grabs Jonathan to shut him up, and they put a sound effect in that was like a crunching bone sound effect, and I was just like, Jesus, that's so, it's like he definitely broken his shoulder before he even got off the fucking boat.
But also that during this section as well, which I forgot to mention, he just chucks Benny over the side of the boat, which is what we had been talking about, to kind of just like get rid of him. So there's already like this like actual like, you know, Benny's been buoyed and he's raging and he wants to get one back on Rick already.
Benny's buoyed in every conversation. It's like, oh, hey, Benny, I think I'll kill you now. Don't shoot. Think about my children. You don't have any children. Someday I might. Excellent line. Buoying himself.
He's a Jundle of Boyd.
He's a Jundle of Boyd. So, next section you were saying.
So, the next section, they managed to buy camels. They're on separate sides of the river, so they're on a sort of race to get to Hamanaptra. Sexy Evie appears. This is like Rick's moment of getting like attracted to her, because I assume she's lost all her clothes in the sinking / burning / absolute destruction of that boat. So she's all kind of dressed up like sexy. She's got this sort of like black floaty sort of outfit on. And yeah, then Rick's like, you know, thirsting after her, just actually panting like a dog, basically. The Magi are still watching what's going on, and they go to Hamunaptra, and it's revealed to them at a certain time of day.
It's like a barrage.
Yeah, it kind of appears out of the sand. So they race there, they set up camp, 2 separate camps for both teams, and one team goes off, so the Americans go off and they find this big sarcophagus, and they're kind of a bit hesitant to open it, so they get their digger team in, and they are completely like, I mean, I guess their faces like melt off, because when they open the sarcophagus, it's filled with pressurized salt acid, I think is what they described it as. So it just like literally melts the skin off their bones, which is horrifying. And meanwhile, our team, the main characters, find what they don't know yet is Imhotep's tomb in a separate part of like the pyramid kind of area. Meanwhile, we say goodbye to the warden, who goes off to find.
He's just sitting next to this wall that's full of these little blue scarab beetles, and he's like, "Ooh, blue gold," and you were just like,
Not a thing.
"No real."
Not a thing. What are you talking about?
And he's prizing them off the wall and being like, "Oh, just another one. Oh, just another one." And then one like burrows itself into his foot, crawls up his leg inside of him, through his stomach, into his arm and his shoulder and his head, and then like blinds him, I guess. And then he just goes mental because there's
in
this
his
like
brain,
bug
right?
creature in him, and then he like runs into a wall so hard that he just dies.
Yeah, I always kind of thought like it got in its brain. It was like eating his brain anyway, and then that was like the final impact.
Yeah, but it's watching. It's an actual just the death isn't the scarab. It is. It's the inciting thing, but the death is that fucking slam into the wall.
But it is like objectively probably the most like horrifying part of the film.
Oh yeah,
like, as a horror.
As I say, this is the scene that made me want to watch the film and like all this stuff.
This was the scene that got me into trouble actually, because I remember like watching it when I was like 10 at a sleepover, and I was like, The Mummy, it's a kids film. I was like, I've been watching this since I was 6 years old. Like, don't be shy.
Oh my
It's
god,
not scary.
you've unlocked memory.
Like,
I think it was a sleepover at my cousin's house, and she was watching it when I came round, and then my mum made her turn it off. Oh my god, you've unlocked that. That's what that was.
yeah, and I remember getting absolutely like leathered because not leathered. I wasn't actually beaten, but I was really told off because they were like, "Why did you show that scary film to all like your friends?" And like people's mums were going mental at me and everything. And I was like, I honestly thought it was a children's film because I had watched it so young.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was like really allowed to watch scary films. I was literally not allowed to watch Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone because my mum thought I'd be afraid of the 3-headed dog.
I had watched The Exorcist and Dog Soldiers before I was 5.
What?
I know.
That explains a lot.
Exorcist.
Yeah, it does explain a lot, doesn't it?
I love The Exorcist, but Jesus Christ.
I wasn't shown it, to be fair. I think that I woke up one morning to watch cartoons, and I just like,
and you found The Exorcist.
and I just pushed it into the video player because it's like my mum's favourite horror film, and I just watched it. And I also I can't remember when I'd seen Dog Soldiers, but
It's a good film.
it's a very good film. But yeah.
I feel like your mum walked in and found you watching The Exorcist in the same way that my stepmom walked in to the living room and found me watching a sheep being gutted.
And this is also just every birthday I've ever had since like the age of 9 or 10. I've always asked for some mental film. And Mum's like, I'm probably in some fucking register somewhere for all the fucking mad films that I've bought you over the years. And I think, and to this day, she still makes that joke, and it's funny.
And I had a Halloween sleepover, right? And I showed because like it was a tradition in my house, my mum to put on the Thriller music video and watch it with me and Charlotte, right, on Halloween. And Charlotte's my sister. And I had like 2 of my pals over who were like my neighbours over for a sleepover on Halloween, showed them the Thriller music video. They both had to go home greeting. And I had watched the fucking Exorcist by the time I was 5. I was like, grow up, guys.
Get correct.
Get a fucking grip.
Meanwhile, I'm having...
It's good. It's like for a music video, it's pretty scary. But like, Jesus, man, it's Halloween.
It's a music
Grow
video.
up.
Meanwhile, I'm having fucking nightmares over catching a glimpse of the movie Signs. Do you know the bit when... You ever seen Signs? You know the bit when the camouflage alien walks out from the bush and you see it?
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep for weeks because of that. I was like 12. What the fuck?
I am just when you're saying that about your mum being on some kind of register, it just reminded me when I was
Here we go.
when I was a
That's
kid.
a sound bite.
when I was a kid, I was reading this book series, and it was like some kind of period drama set in like Elizabethan times or something. And the books all had like one word titles that were like really dramatic like names. And my dad had phoned me from his work once and was like, "What were these names of these books you wanted for your Christmas?" And I like rhymed them off, like the different ones in this series, and he'd written them down on a post-it note. But it was just like these post-it notes he'd left on his desk when he went out for lunch that said like betrayal, disgrace, like all these like mad words. And, like his co-workers were just like, is Chris okay? Like,
is he gonna go buy a gun to shoot the place up?
Scribbling like we like betrayal, disaster, disgrace, and all these kind of things. And just like everyone was like, I think he's lost it. I think he's finally lost it.
I don't want him back in after his lunch break. Pat him down.
But yeah.
So before we move on, just about that sequence, obviously that's covered a lot of the film. I love the race sequence. See, when they race into Hamanatra, I think there's sometimes in movies they just clearly go, right, we're just going to have a bit of fun for a moment. And the whole film is kind of like that, but this bit especially. Like, I've read many reviews of people who don't like the film or have issues, but every single review I've ever said is like, the fucking race to Hamanatra is such an inspired, simple, and great little sequence. And it's so funny because once again, we get all our characters doing little things. But for me, the best one, once again, of course, is the relationship between Benny and Rick. It's like, okay, yeah, let's have a race, man. Yeah, as soon as they start racing, Benny's like, come up to Rick with a fucking whip. And he's just smacking the shit out of him. He's like, ah! And he's like, what the fuck are you doing, Benny? Fucking let go of me, you dick.
That would be mean.
I would. And then you throw me off the horse. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I do love that, like, okay, yes, Rick does, like, razz him back, I'm going to throw him over the boat and things like that, but so much of it, he's just like, mate, go and leave me alone, please.
I know.
Like, why are you locking me out of the temple?
Swanny, can you stop punching me? Can you stop poking me?
It's just a whip, Claude. It's just a whip, man.
Can you put that belt down, please?
Put that belt down. To clarify, I have not belted Claude. Can we just clarify?
You've definitely threatened to.
Maybe threatened, but not actually done it.
I am...
Just for...
I got belted at a soft play once.
Is that what you're
I
about?
didn't.
Right. Yes. So...
No. What I was going to say is something that I guess the older you get, the more you realise how ridiculous it is. But I do just love how cartoonishly like shite these Americans are. They're just brash. They're like uncultured. They don't know anything. They don't want to know anything. But they kind of have them as these kind of like gunslinging cowboy treasure hunter types.
Yeah.
What's really funny now, obviously they've done this like to get like the rating, but they don't, like, they come up and they're like squaring up to folk and they're like, you scared the bejesus out of me.
It's great.
And it's just very funny because you're like, okay, that guy would definitely like swear or say something far more threatening.
Well, actually,
but
you
they
know
come
what?
out with these like really cringy, like,
Well, look,
but it's so entertaining to me because it's just like,
weirdly though,
Jinkies.
no, but weirdly, Abby, that is actually technically more historically accurate because in the Wild West times, or
Jesus.
no, genuinely, the swear words of the time were blasphemy based. So see, when they were doing the series Deadwood, they started writing it how they would have. So it was a lot of gosh darn it, be Jesus, all of it was blasphemy. But then when they started acting it and reading it out, they were like, this just sounds fucking ridiculous. So for Deadwood, which is a show set in the 1870s to like 1900s, they changed the swear words to our modern swear words to get the same effect.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, them come up and going, you scared the bejesus out of me, is actually probably what they would have done.
You know, apologies to Nathan Barr, who I know watches this podcast, because I should have done this, but when we did an adaptation of And Then There Were None, Nathan had one of the first lines in the play, which was, wizard. Because apparently wizard was like something you would say in like I think it was like the 20s, wherever it was set.
Wizard.
Yeah, like, cool. That's cool.
Boy, gee.
Sick.
But he just had to walk in. It was like the second play he'd ever been in as well. I just felt so bad for him because there was just no way to say that in a way that sounded natural. So there was like 4 lines of dialogue and Nathan just walks in and goes, wizard. And looking back, I'm like, I should have just changed that to something that didn't like seem as jarring.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like that scene in Dorian Gray where I have to walk onto the stage and just like faint at nothing. It's just one of those ones that was just never really going to sit right. But never knew that was slang in the 20s. I would love it if someone was using that in this film because that's kind of that time period. It's the first night that they're in this sort of camp, and once again the Magi come and attack. Look, part of me thinks that some communication would not go amiss here. If they were maybe like, look, there is an ancient mummy who is evil and he's cursed, and specifically if you find the Book of the Dead and read aloud from it, you're going to bring him back to life. I feel like some clear direction would have been beneficial in this situation rather than just constantly trying to kill them.
Here's my theory, right? I'm gonna say justice for Emotep, justice for is Mrs. and justice for the Magi. Because I think that the method of just attacking them and trying to scare them away is actually more effective, because they're probably not wanting to spread the word of like, hey, there's something weird going on in this desert. They're just like, if you come here, Magi are going to kill you. That's like less threatening, but like less pertinent than like, if you come here, an evil mummy curse is going to be broken. Because what are Americans going to do other than going back and telling everyone, and then there's going to be hundreds of Americans.
There's going to be like
up.
mummy tourism, isn't there?
Aye, like
Area 51?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
the thing is, they actually do that because everyone keeps talking about the curse of this mummy before this, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's bullshit."
Yeah, to be fair, they wouldn't believe them even if they did say what it
Yes,
was.
they wouldn't
Because
believe
of the
them
treasure.
because of the treasure, and they just say, "Oh, they're just hiding the treasure." Do you know what I
why
mean?
do these folk do this? Like, there's a evil mummy curse, and they're like, "Oh, let's go and explore." And it's like, just leave it alone.
But no
man.
one believes it. That's
They
the whole
know
point.
something, like,
They think it's a story being told to keep them away from the treasure. That's the whole thing.
I mean,
I understand.
Let's be genuinely serious. Picture the scene.
I'd be
on
there.
the drive
I'd be
back.
there right away. Sorry, you don't even.
That's
you,
where I'm going with
You don't
this,
even need
to
to
be
sell it to me. You told me, "Hey man, there's a fucking treasure with a mummy's curse." I'd be like, "Where, when, how?"
And I would be like, let's just leave it. Let's no touch the mummy's curse.
But then you
Claude,
get.
don't be lame.
But then you get FOMO that we were going, so then you'd come.
I would
in.
come.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
come. And I would moan about it in the entire
You'd be
time.
the first to die in a horror
This
film.
is fucking.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's always the skeptic.
It's not always the skeptic. It's always
could
the
be
two
you.
folk shagging.
It's going to be Selena Gomez. It's going to be me.
No, it's probably just gonna be me. I get my face melted off. Get scarab beetle.
You're wanked somewhere. Get
Right.
your face burnt off. It's always the folk having sex.
I was sitting having a wank in one of the corridors and got killed by the mummy. So,
Yep.
cheers, man. Fucking hell. The opinions that these two have of me are
Listen.
shocking sometimes.
I don't know how many times you have mentioned having a wank in the past 2 days that I've seen you. It's been more than
Can't
5
wait for
times.
Swanny's dad to enjoy
My
this.
dad watches this.
You mentioned having like sexy wee dreams first, so I thought all bets were off.
I didn't. Not on the podcast.
Rewind. Receipts.
Scratch that.
Receipts.
Oh no, right, sex dreams. Yeah, fine. Anyway,
Anyway,
very
so,
funny.
the Magi obviously attack again, and then we get a speech from Evie while she's drinking with Rick. They find a bottle of whiskey, so they're getting drunk, and she almost kisses him, but she's too drunk and she passes out. The treasure hunters open the cursed box, which has sarcophagi in it. They go back into the temple and they find these, what we know to be what Imhotep put Anaxunamun's organs in the mummification ritual. And when they open the box, it does say, "Death will come on swift wings to anyone who opens this box." And they're like, haha, who cares? Where's the crowbar? They also find in that box the Book of the Dead, which is this sort of black book. And again, it's got this kind of key indentation in it. Meanwhile, back at the other shite part of the temple, they find Imhotep, the mummy. The titular mummy, who they remark on the fact that like his body has not fully decomposed. It appears it's like sticky looking. It's like barbecue ribs.
Yeah, the phrase is gooey.
Yeah, juicy,
juicy,
gooey,
Moist.
juicy, gooey, boggy mummy.
stinky mummy. That's the name of this episode.
Gooey, stinky, boggy mummy.
That's the name of the episode. There we go. Episode title right there. But yeah, so I think the practical effects for this are so good, and this is where I do agree, like I will say
It's better.
it's better that way, and they should have done it more like the Terminator. You've seen the Terminator, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you can do the stop motion and have an actual thing moving. Even though you can see that it's obviously not real, the fact that it's in camera adds so much to it.
Yeah.
Obviously CGI. They were trying the new big thing, whatever. But
Why is he all soaking?
because he's not been mummified. Ironically enough, the mummy hasn't actually been mummified. The whole point is he's been wrapped up and left to be eaten by these scarab beetles for.
But it's been like 3,000 years. Surely you'd have decomposed.
I think it's maybe part.
completely.
I think it's part of the curse That he's because they
they
curse him.
just never. It's funny. They never kind of explain that
They spend
beforehand,
so
during, or
much
after.
time
Well, they
telling you that he's wet.
No,
Yeah.
but they kind of
He's soaking.
they kind of do because they say he's cursed for eternal undeath. So he's not actually dead when they resurrect him. He's still dying. So he's in a perpetual gooey
Right.
state. So when as soon as you read the words, he comes back.
That is boggy.
Well, or he's awoken. Do you know? And that's why he can do all that
Yeah.
magic in the sands because he's not actually dead.
Right,
He's never
okay.
dead. He's undead.
And that's why the scarab beetles.
That's why the scarab- yeah.
Right, okay. Because what I was going to say, like, it's a bit like the scarab beetles were like the gremlins. Like, you add water, like one scarab beetle falls in the sand, and suddenly a nightmare unfolds. Like, it's just like they've been there for 3,000 years. The fuck is going on?
I know.
But yeah, so they find Imhotep. He's bogging. A lot of discussion about that. The Americans obviously have the Book of the Dead. Evie manages to steal it off them because they're like, what does this do? I can't open the book. And she's like, oh, I have the key for that. So she steals it. She opens it, and she basically is trying to impress Rick and everyone else around her by being like, I can read hieroglyphics, which, you know,
It's what you would
but
do.
it's exactly what I would do. She reads aloud a passage from the book and wakens the mummy. And then basically shit just starts to completely fall apart. We get the first plague of Egypt, again, which we were warned was going to happen, and that is locusts.
Yeah.
This is one of my biggest gripes with Evie, is that she picks me too close to the sun and ruins Egypt.
She's the Icarus of pick me girls. That's a good way of
She's
looking
like,
at her.
oh, listen to me reading hieroglyphics, and then everything explodes. Like, everything she does is clown.
But it's real. It would happen like that.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, 'cause like these films where, you know, rom-coms, and it's like, oh, she just fell over. I fell out of a seat. Like, I was in my work the other day, and I was sitting down, and I tripped up. I don't know how that's possible. I was sitting in a chair, I had my legs crossed, I went to sort of move forward in my chair like that, and I somehow tripped up over my own feet despite the fact I was sitting down.
Honestly, Abby, knowing you has made rom-coms make so much more sense. All these things you're like, oh, that's a stupid fucking, oh, that wouldn't happen. No,
It does.
It's happened to my pal.
It happens to me. And then, yeah, I mean, this speech that she gives, I honestly, like, I don't know whether it's like a chicken and egg situation. Am I cringe because she was my hero, or like, was she my hero because I was already cringe? I don't know.
Both nature versus nurture.
It isn't the
Hand in
nature
hand.
versus nurture debate, but this, like, so I remember, so I've always loved this film so much from when I was a kid. I had this kind of like similar attitude to her, where I was like, you know, clumsy and ditzy and like always, you know, making a mess of things and trying to learn things and languages and be smart and shit like that, which, you know, had varying levels of social success. But the way that she's
Read
kind of like,
none.
the way that she's very like biting and haughty, and everything she says she thinks is an absolute like zinger, and 9 times out of 10 it's just not. It's like you've given that way too much thought for it to actually be funny. That is literally, as a child,
She needs a patter slap.
she does. She needs a pat or batter. I think it might sort her out, and so did I. But I honestly, like, as a child, literally, like, this was my like main character to like relate to. Like, I really, really identified with this character. I have such a special place in my heart for this film. But watching this, when I was like, I think I was like 20, and I was going out with my first boyfriend, and we watched this film together. And it was the first time I'd actually seen it in a long time since I was a kid. And it was this scene where she's kind of like grandstanding and she's drunk. And he's like, I don't get what your thing is. Like, your brother is a treasure hunter and, you know, this, whatever. And she's like, oh, this is my tragic childhood past, like, anecdote from my childhood. And this is all this stuff with my parents. And he's like, yeah, that's not like, what are you though? And she stands up and she's swaying about and she's like, I am proud of what I am. I am a librarian. And it's one of those ones you kind of watch it through your fingers because you're like, oh my God, that's me. I'm like so aware now of how embarrassing that is. But then she is like, and now I'm going to kiss you, which again is like, you've never have this much confidence if you were not drunk. And she leans in to kiss him and he's like going for it. Like, he's like buzzing. And then she's too drunk and she passes out. And I was like, well, that's just me.
That's happened so many times to you.
No. Like, I've been in that situation. I was her as a child. I'm watching this scene, being like, oh my God, this is so cringe. I can't believe I used to be so much like that. And then she did that, and I was like, I'm still this, but I just get drunk now.
Now it's allowed, apparently.
But yeah. This scene. I've got like, I don't know. I think I've got like a notebook that has like I am a librarian. I love this scene so much.
No, it's a good scene. And the whole that whole nighttime sequence is great. I just love, like, obviously they're like reminiscing about the death of one of our favourite characters, the warden, dead. And then this is when you get, like, they go, how we get the bottle is they go into his bag, and then the music's all tense. You think it's going to be the Scarab Beatles. Jonathan's in there, like, oh my God, Jonathan's going to get bitten by a scarab. And he goes, he screams. Evie shits herself after pretending that nothing was wrong. Screams, oh my God, what is it? What is it? And he's like, broken bottle. Glenlivet 12. Maybe a stinky guy, but he had good taste. And that's how the bottle gets introduced. And it's funny. And I was just like, I lost your pal today, so let's have a wee quiet night, wee drink, and then camp battle out of nowhere, attack by the Magi. Love that little going from the humour to the action, but also a little bit of horror at the start of it. I don't know, that whole little flow of events is a very encapsulation of the movie's tone for me, and I thought it was quite cool.
As seems to be the theme with Ham and Aptra, the Magi have attacked on 3, possibly 4 separate occasions
that we've seen.
And again, no one seems to be particularly like, someone better keep watch in case
set a perimeter.
Army of people who keep attacking us show up again.
I think, again, this is another one of those things that I'd maybe take a wee bit of issue with in the film, is that it gave me that whole Titanic vibe where I'm like, I feel like I've seen this about 4 times.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've had shooty, screamy, loud, fast-paced, and let's have a little bit of chat about our backstory for the plot, and let's talk about, what's going on in the pyramids, and then, wait, is that guy with a gun? And then it just happens over again, and I'm like, no, I get it. This could have been done twice, and now it's been done 5 times. Like, I get it,
Yeah, the Magi do show up a lot in this, and I wouldn't mind so much if it was always like dialogue with the sexy guy who leads them. I definitely wouldn't be complaining about that, but they do get a little bit repetitive. The Magi do.
But the whole kind of what's the word for it? The whole kind of end of the fight with the Magi is Rick literally pulling out that stick of dynamite, and then they're like, "You have 1 day to leave or die," and I was just like, "Nah, fuck you! I'm just gonna rig the place with these sticks of dynamite and." Fucking try it, mate. This was your one shot. You've bottled it. Now you're fucked. You come in again, I blow Ham and Aptra up. How's that, mate? I'll fucking cover you in dirt. Cover you in fucking rubble. Fucking, you love the desert, you're going to fucking die in it, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'd be like.
What would actually happen if they just blown up Ham and Aptra?
Well, I bet the Magi would probably go, oh, sweet.
Yeah,
I feel like that.
Why have they not done that?
Why have they not done that?
Here.
No, I think the book would survive. So would the coffin probably.
That might actually just piss off Imhotep more.
Aye, I'm sleeping.
I'm sleeping.
But if they'd blown up the Book of the Dead, then they couldn't have read. Fuck, who cares? But.
So yeah, it's just that sequence talking about. Obviously, they find the mummy and they found the Book of the Dead, right? The fucking Americans, man. They've just went through this ancient fucking city that appears in a mirage. It's like a mystical place. All this weird stuff's going on.
Brad, Chad, and Scooter.
Yeah, Brad, Chad, and Scooter are just here.
We need an extra one.
Brad, Chad, Scooter, and Dylan. Brad, Chad, Scooter, and Dylan are all just like. So after all this, they unearth it, and they find this ancient book, and the guy's like, oh my God, look at the book that we found, like they're Egyptologists that they've got. Oh my God. And then they're like, a book? Where's the treasure, man? I'm like, guys,
you're explorers.
You have just found an ancient text made of some old obsidian metal engraved with hieroglyphs in this ancient city that doesn't exist. It's a mirror, and you're sitting going, where's the fucking treasure? Fucking
but
what?
I love the fact that they're basically just like, I have absolutely no ability to assess the value of anything unless it is genuinely made
gold.
of gold.
It needs to be glittering.
And then they find the canoptic jars of an axe on the moon. Canoptic jars of an axe on the moon, and then the Egyptologist is like, aye, so there's your treasure.
Yeah.
And then they're buzzing. They're like, hey, we got these lovely treasures. Woo!
But also, they're
you
like
got a
broken
mummy.
jars, and obviously, like, but I don't understand the logic between like these are treasure, but the book is not. Like,
Because there was a little bit of gold on them.
literally,
Literally.
so lame, guys. But in this section, also, sorry, I realised I didn't actually finish what I was saying. The death will come on swift wings to anyone who opens this box starts to be enacted because Brad, let's just go in order of death. Brad gets his eyes and his tongue nicked by Imhotep. He
There's this whole hilarious sequence where they're all running away from, like, they don't know what it is at this point. But
Well,
it's
the locusts coming in. The locusts have attacked, so they've ran inside the building. That's what it is.
So they're running away from it, and Brad, he's kind of fallen behind because he's fell over and dropped his glasses, and then one of the other ones steps on his glasses, smashes it, and he's literally doing a Velma, where are my glasses? I can't see. And he stands up to look around to see what it is, and he can't see anything, as if that's how glasses work, where you just become blind when you don't wear them, when that's not how it works. And even if it was, like, they're in mortal danger from the way that they are running away, so just keep going, mate. Forwards.
You know that bit in
Forwards
Barbie?
is better than... What?
You know that bit in Barbie where she's having an existential crisis and she just lies on the ground and she's like, I give up.
Yeah.
Leave me here to die.
That's Brad.
Brad.
That's Brad when he loses his glasses. He basically just goes, yep, well, I am now incapable of doing anything. Like, you think even like the fight or flight response would trigger something in him to like run in a specific direction, but also you're in a dark cave. You know what way you were running. It's not as if being able to see detail or anything. And then when Imhotep steals his eyes and his tongue, I'm like, well, that's one loss because apparently without your glasses, you were just completely blind anyway, I guess.
Yeah.
But I struggled to feel sorry for him because I was like, you know, survival of the fittest. Your survival instincts have not kicked in here, mate. Yeah. Like, you dropped your glasses and then just absolutely shat yourself.
Yeah. Technically, that's what a panic attack is. It's when the fight or flight. It's when the flight or flight doesn't work. You just panic because you're meant to run or not. So that's what that is. So yeah,
Oh,
but
sorry. Apologies to Brad. I did not handle his panic attack sensitively.
You didn't, but it's fine. No.
Cheers for explaining what a panic attack is.
Yeah, I'll mansplain panic attacks because I heard about it in Sopranos.
But so Evie's like cut off from the rest of the group because of some sort of trapdoor situation, and she finds him and he's like facing away from her. She's like, "Oh my god, thank God I found you." Nah, no eyes, no tongue. He's freaking out. He's already having a bad time. No juice. Can he help her?
Brad's got zero juice.
But you know who's got plenty of juice? Imhotep. Who's right there.
So Imhotep approaches her and he calls her a Naxinamun.
Because he can't see her.
Because
he's got Brad's fucking eyes.
Because he's got Brad's useless eyes. You imagine you've been in a coffin, like tortured by your undeadness for like 3,000 years, and you're like, oh my god, need to come out of this, need to like regenerate. You steal this guy's eyes and tongue, and it's him with his shite patter.
Do you know what would been funnier?
And his
I think they should have really committed to it being more comedy and just had him speaking an American accent because he's taking an American's tongue. He's like, an axe on the moon. Hey, an axe on the moon. You're going to be sacrificed for me, baby. You'd be like, Jesus Christ, can we get someone else's tongue in this cunt, please?
So,
oh no, that was a bad combination of words.
Oh my god.
Obviously didn't mean it in that sense.
Soundbite, man.
I'm so perturbed by that.
Can we get someone else's tongue in that cunt?
Man.
Right.
Tongue, please.
So they managed to escape him. The Magi are raging. They're like, thanks, well done, you've killed us all. Cheers, didn't listen. Awesome, thanks. Knew it'd be Americans. And meanwhile, we have Imhotep decides to make a wee bendy shite bag.
Yeah.
Wee bendy shite bag is stuck with
Imhotep.
And he's about to get killed, and he manages to sort of bargain his way into a different sort of deal.
Probably my favourite sequence in the film, because Imhotep's approaching him like, yep, going to kill you as well, and he's literally... And he's just going through all his different fucking religious iconography he's got around his neck, like a fucking D&D character who's just prepared for any fucking guy that he might meet on a out in this wild world. So he's got like the Christian cross, doesn't work. He tries like the Islamic the Islamic moon, crescent moon thing, does that. He tries some other religion, and then he's like, Mama, gotta go, like literally, I remember quoting that all the time as a kid, and then he eventually pulls out the Star of David, and then speaks in Hebrew, and then what's his name is like the language of the slaves, because obviously Egypt had Jewish people as slaves, which is an interesting little like reference to the history, and also a very fucking funny character moment for Benny. Nails it.
Yeah, because he's just opportunist.
Yeah, he just wants to live. I'd have done the exact same thing.
Well, his survival instincts have been a lot better than Brad's in this case.
Yeah.
So, Majaya raging, everything's been fucked up by...
The plagues are coming. Here we go.
English and the Americans.
Of course.
Now we're ruined. Rick wants absolutely nothing to do with anything. He's like, look, you wanted to go to Hamanaptra. I told you it was a bad idea. I've taken you. It was a bad idea. You're on your own with this. But Evie's like, no, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to sort this out. We've made this mess. We clean it up. And he's like, I think you'll find you made this mess.
Yep.
It's going to have to do with me.
They're all back in Cairo now, right?
Yeah, they're in a hotel in Cairo. We meet Winston, who is
the best
war
character.
hero who just never came back from the war because he doesn't know how to sort of chase the high that he was doing there. He describes himself as rotting there of boredom and booze.
Yeah.
The plagues continue. The waters in Cairo run red with blood. That was the next one. We have Imhotep appears in the hotel. He's kind of off to set out what he didn't manage to finish with Brad, who's just cutting about with a bandaged up face, having the worst time of his life. Benny brings him in, and he is masquerading as a sort of prince for no reason. He could definitely have just got away with being the mummy, which he does for the rest of it. But there's a little bit of extra production value, as we know that Imhotep likes to do.
Yeah.
But he munches the rest of Brad, and sort of he starts to regenerate every single time that he kills one of the guys who had opened the canopic jars. We learn that he is afraid of cats for some reason. That can scare him off. So he is scared away. The Magi and the curator, it turns out, have been working together all along. The curator at the Cairo Museum, Evie's boss.
Yep.
And they are like, guys, this is a nightmare. This is what you've done. You've awoken this curse. And I think basically if he's calling Evie an axe to the moon, it means that his end goal is to make her a human sacrifice to bring back his dead girlfriend. We lose 2 more Americans as
Chad and Scooter are gone.
Chad and Scooter out of the game.
Just Dylan
Brad's
left.
been chomped.
Brad's been chomped.
Brad's been chomped. Chad and Scooter have been chomped. And now suddenly we have an army of zombies, basically.
Because it's the
Imhotep.
Yeah, because it's the sores and boils.
The sores and boils plague. So that's the next section. This is the aftermath of no harm can ever come from reading a book. Obviously, it's a pretty bad
That's the
time.
line she says. She sucks.
It's amazing.
No harm can ever come from reading a book. Wait till the second one where she says it again. Love it.
Love it.
She says it again.
Of course she does.
Grow up.
So, I'm going to refer to this section as a big bash in Cairo because they're just in Cairo, and this is when you can actually start to feel the wheels of the script kind of creaking a bit, because it's like, we're here, and then we're going to go to this part of Cairo, but then we need to go back and get the curator. But then there's a lot of jumping. You're like, okay, this is clearly the result of a few script revisions. Yeah. But I don't mind it because like, Imhotep shows up, they get scared by a cat. He shows up again, gets scared by another cat. It's all very...
I feel like I don't want to have less Americans because they're all really funny when they're alive. But I'm like, do we need to systematically kill... I mean, it does build up a tension, but it means that we essentially get the same scene like 4 times where he like sucks the life out of someone.
I can't criticise it too much though, because as I've said, Imhotep wearing that big death mask as Prince Imhotep and getting introduced, I fucking love that.
It's such a great scene, but it's so unnecessary.
But I love that they keep it in, and for me, like, honestly, that iconography of him in that big mask and then Benny being like, Prince Imhotep is wanting you to do this. Oh, you've been very wrong. He must finish his business. Like the creeping tension, him going, no. Honestly, that whole sequence is embedded so much in my mind that when I try and do like kind of creepy scenes and things, like with D&D or just any creative thing, I do feel like that is a well that I've constantly drawn from. So I don't give a shit. Fucking give me more Prince Imhotep. I want that. That's my spin-off. Benny and Prince Imhotep just going about having tea with people and killing them. That is my fucking spin-off. And I'm here for it.
What was the comment you made last night that really made me laugh about the fact that Brad is already blind?
That I made.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I think basically your criticism of the logic of this scene was like, yes, I mean, he's a terrifying mummy and he's out to scare everyone already. So why does he need to be dressed up? But also, why does he need to be dressed up playing a part in front of a guy who is literally
Blind, doesn't have eyes.
Yeah, well, why are they keep sneaking in going, yes, the Prince Imhotep wants to have tea with you. Oh, brilliant. And
He can't see.
But then later on
He can't talk.
Yeah, but then later on he's just bursting through walls as a big plague of
cloud
sand.
of sand.
I guess maybe he's getting stronger. Maybe he needs to get to Brad. Because like, to be fair, he just gets shot in half by Rick before that. So maybe he needs to be right. I need you to sneak me in. Just sneak me in so I can kill one. If I kill one, I'm going to be class.
Sneak me in this ridiculous death. I want to see the scene where they're just walking through the hotel
You can
lobby.
get through security.
Just like trying not to attract any
Benny's
attention.
hiding like this from Rick behind the fucking plant. He's like,
It's one of Rick's guys, and he's like, "Is that no Bendy? Is that not the guy who's been scheming
and
this
see-
entire
and see
time?"
That, see that stinking rotten flesh monster and that aura of evil? Is that what that guy is? Aye, maybe. I mean, everyone did just fall down dead near him, so ridiculous. The implied narrative is
Listen,
hilarious.
I finished at 5. I'm not dealing with this.
They just here's the keys, mate. Fucking take any room you fucking want.
And it is objectively funny as well that they just keep chucking cats at this guy. That's like their only move that they can reliably get away with. But the idea is that the cat as a deterrent is only going to work until he's fully regenerated.
Yeah, because cats were, as the curator explains, cats were the guardians of the underworld.
Yeah.
But that
I
seemed
enjoyed that part.
Yeah,
I love
you're
the
right.
idea that
we
in
want
his-
more cats. More cats
More
would be
cats.
good.
But like if the cats are the guardians of the underworld and that's why he's fear of cats, in his head is this wee white cat just going to be like, no, get back.
Well, I think that's what the cat does.
You're coming with me, mate.
Literally, my cannon when the cat goes and hisses at him is literally saying, "Aye, I see you, prick. Get back. Where are you meant to be? You're not meant to be here, dick, prick." But aye, so love that. Love the Magi and the curator basically just being like, "Hey, we're behind this mummy curse." Man, I literally set the map on fire in the most blatant way. What the fuck are you done with the place? But, you know, it's as I think Cammy said yesterday, it's like someone just wrecking your gaff. The Magi are like, "Mate, we are trying so hard to have a nice gaff and you just keep fucking farting, shitting up the walls, pissing on in the sink, spilling fucking..."
When are you going home? When are you going home? Soon? I hope. Please.
You know, it's been 3,000 years you've been playing this
Evie's
shit.
like, "No, I started this. I'm going to end it." And they're like, "Denny, just leave it. We'll sort it. Just get out. I'll clean the gaff. I'll do my dishes. It's fine. You don't need help. Don't worry."
You've done enough, mate. You'll find you've done enough.
That's plenty. 20's plenty because it's set in the 1920s. Shite, hit me.
Maybe that was shite.
No, that's not what I said. Oh yeah, that was the part from earlier. I literally just said the same thing again. Getting thumped against the chair
I was
here.
going to say as well as the Magi are like, "Mate, could you leave? I actually am not going to kill you, but I just wanted to." And Rick's like, dynamite, throwing things. Like they honestly are just like the worst house guests of all time.
Yeah.
Which I understand that is basically what white people do. Like that's
Historically.
historically.
But anyway, the end of the sequence ends with them obviously getting all the people they want, they get the key, they get this, all the back and forth around Cairo, big bash, whatever the fuck, and then they're getting chased to the streets by all these zombies. We've got a funny bit where Jonathan pretends to be one of the zombies going, "Imhotep, Imhotep." Great, what I would do as well. They jump on the car, drive away, and then unfortunately in the schism, or just before the Egyptologist has died, Imhotep is more regenerated, and then we get the last of the Americans. Unfortunately, Dylan falls off the back of the car and does a pretty good last stand with his cowboy shooting folk, and then he gets killed.
Yeah, chopped.
And we're at this point. We end up with them cornered, about to be killed, and we see that Imhotep has been fully regenerated, right? He's fully...
Yeah, so sorry. In the midst of that, we also find out, what it is we can do to sort this. We need the Gold Book of Amun-Ra, which is like the opposite of the Book of the Dead. And if you read aloud from that book, then you can send him back to whence he came. So at least now we have something to work towards rather than just chucking a cat at this guy and shooting at him, despite the fact it does nothing.
Yeah, all this bashing about has eventually got them with a solution.
And we know that Evie's going to be like, hey, if it wasn't for me, we would never have sorted this out because I'm the only one who can read hieroglyphics. But if she hadn't...
In Egypt. In Egypt, amongst ancient Egyptian scholars. Okay.
And if she hadn't picked me too close to the sun in the first place, we wouldn't need her to fucking read Amun-Ra. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
This though, because basically the next section is that she gets snatched. They make this sort of executive decision to let him take her off, and then they're going to come and like rescue her. But I do love this about her being able to speak hieratic in like ancient Egyptian. Is that
she corrects Bendy when he's
Imhotep is like speaking to her in his language, and Benny's like incorrectly translating, and she's just like shop.
She's like, no way,
idiot. So funny.
But yeah, that is class.
He says like till the end of time. She's like, yeah, for all eternity. It's actually more poetic than that. Dick.
And Benny,
idiot.
And Benny doesn't even sneer. He just goes, oh, Boyd. But yeah,
he's literally just like, you are useless, mate. Nobody asked you to do this. Nobody needs you.
I'm assisting him in my own kidnapping because you are so
shy at this job. But yeah, so like they escape through the sewers, and
they escape, and yeah, Evie's been snatched. They
and
have
the
to go and
curator
rescue her.
The curator. He goes down fighting the horde of zombies with his big. It's not a machete. It's a kukri actually. I meant to correct you for that earlier, but didn't want to. Doing it now though. I'm a dick. Can't help it. Tried my best not to mansplain what weapons are. But yeah, it might not even be a kukri. Oh no, is that? Oh fuck knows. No, Kopesh. Got it wrong. Kukri's a wee dagger.
Oh, I'm glad we
Ignore
cleared
my
that
pesh. Aye. Boyd.
Just didn't know what I was going to do if I didn't find that out.
You'd have just been wrong.
Okay, so the plan is they're going to commandeer a plane with Winston, our war hero. They fly this plane, which apparently you had to pedal planes. Is that a thing?
No,
Didn't know that.
I think it's just
power.
It's
like
just
pedal
power.
the plane.
Oh right,
like,
okay. I actually thought you had to pedal the wings.
Nah, man.
Like a pedalo.
Can you imagine?
I was like, is that how they won the war?
Yeah.
Just really strong calves.
Aye. It's got like rugby
I was
player
like, why have
thighs.
they got this wee old guy to do it? Surely Rick could pedal a bit faster.
Because he's the only World War I pilot left. And anyone else has got a plane.
So they commandeer the plane Winston. They're flying towards Hamunaptra to save Evie. There's a massive sandstorm that is caused by Imhotep, kind of like magicking the sand. She realizes, standing with him, that it's going to completely destroy them. So in order to distract him, to stop the spell that he's casting, basically, she kisses him. That gives them... Claude just glared at me as if I did it.
It's just, I just don't understand the love for this woman. It's like she could have done something cool. She could have fucking karate chopped him, slapped him.
Yeah,
I don't know, something else slapsticky. But instead, she's like wenches him. It's like,
no, because that's what he wants. The point is to distract him enough that if she just slapped him, he's probably expecting that.
Because also he was trying to winch her earlier.
Yeah, he was trying to kiss her earlier. So I think doing that is the only way that would distract her. Distract him, sorry.
So she winches Imhotep. That gives him a bit of a break from the sandstorm. But it already is going to crash. It crashes into the sand. They all hop out of the plane, but poor Winston has died. Yeah. Which is tragic, but also that seems to be what he wanted.
Well, that's what he said. He says, I wish I'd died in World War I. I wish I'd died in a blaze of glory instead of a rotting way here, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
And he does.
He said there's not been another challenge worthy of his, like,
because he's sitting going like, hold on, laddie, and then just like zooming about the place. Like
everybody else is screaming. Also, at this point, for some reason, Jonathan and also they've recruited the guy who's the head of
Magi.
The Magi at this point. So the guy who's the head of Magi and Jonathan are just like sellotaped to the wings of the plane, I guess, when this is happening.
Jonathan's freaking out and the leader of the Magi is just loving it. He doesn't even say
anything. His head out the window.
He just smiles.
Like,
I don't think he has never been on a plane. And he's like, this is why he's going planes? I need a plane.
And Winston is just doing like like donuts.
He's like, woo!
Winston's still steaming.
Winston's pissed. Winston's
all
pissed.
the time. I love the fact that he's the only person who's got a real seat in this plane, and when it crashes, he's the one that dies. Not the guys who are literally holding onto the wing like with one hand, essentially. Nah, they're fine. But yeah, poor Winston's
Blue
died.
tacked onto the wings.
And then he's like, they've crashed into like quicksand, so they all give him a wee salute as the plane.
It's
But
actually
it's
quite
like,
touching.
it is very touching for a character who has so little screen time. You meet him briefly in Cairo.
Yeah.
He makes one comment.
three
about,
scenes.
Yeah, like he's hardly in it, but it's so you're like, oh,
Well,
that's touching.
he's my
Wow.
rogue. I'm calling it right now. He's my rogue because just his implied narrative of everything he does is great.
Yeah.
But we can talk about it. We can disagree maybe later on with that.
But that's
yeah.
goodbye to Winston. And then
Now we're in the home run.
yeah, now we're in the home run. So we're now in the section of the film where
Before we move on, sorry, this just reminded me. So, I don't know if this is about to come up, but just so I don't forget.
That's fine.
At some point, so Imhotep made this sand wall in order to obstruct them from like getting away or getting to Evie, and later on, Bendy McShitebag or whatever we're calling him is just basically like kissing Imhotep's arse, and he's like, I love the whole sand wall trick. That was beautiful.
He's just like,
And
that was beautiful.
and it just reminds me of a story where if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that me and Swanny can war with each other a fair often bit.
If you listen to this podcast, you'll know that.
You just look at the looks that Claude would give me about 40 minutes ago. And you see that war.
And we love each other, right? But you know, we fight a lot, in a kind of sibling-esque way, I suppose. But we had this moment where we were just driving and we were listening to Second Chance by Shinedown, which I'd never heard before either.
Also, you had just come out of a breakup at this point.
I
You were
had.
feeling emotionally
I was
frayed.
like, it was like being on my period all the time. Every like picture of like a puppy, every like, you know, kind of sensitive moment was like the most touching thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I was just in tears like 24/7. I was just soaking it all the time from my own tears. And we were driving, and you were singing along to Shinedown's Second Chance, and just by the end of it, I was just like very earnestly turned to it. I was just like, that was beautiful. Like totally meant it. No patter whatsoever.
Quadruple take. I was like, thanks, man.
It just became so much patter because you came home and like obviously Swanny was buzzing about it, and Swanny was like, would not
I've
stop going on
given
about it.
Swanny
Once.
2 compliments in his entire life. I've told him that he's a broad-shouldered, sexy man in order to get him to pick something up for me, and told him that his voice is beautiful, and he has never shut up about it ever since.
My voice is beautiful in 2 songs. That's it.
But like I was really waiting, like I didn't really brought it up, like and I kind of thought even if you had meant it in the moment you'd turn a joke of it for me, but you made him sing it
I totally
for me as well.
I totally doubled down. I was like, no, listen to
You
this.
picked me up
It's
for
beautiful.
work.
So
Yeah,
I
like
listened-
put the song on, do it for the happy.
like my mom or something like that.
No, listen to this. I was
Looking at
literally...
you, like waiting for the joke,
It's
waiting for the
literally
gag.
like the Lemmy skit, the wrong way down a one-way street. That's what I was doing. Like no, listen,
Totally.
stick this on. It's really, really good.
And then, oh, so funny. But aye, that is exactly what Benny is like there.
Nice sandwell, man. That was beautiful.
The sand wall, and it was beautiful.
And then he goes, bastard.
Yeah, is he talking to himself?
No, he's talking about Rick.
he like,
the best. You got him.
I like the idea that he's been like he thinks he's taking it too far in the compliment front, and he's like, oh, I've embarrassed myself.
Okay, I like that reading as well.
Bastard.
But right, home stretch.
Yes, home stretched. So stretched.
In the pyramid, traps, rituals, scarabs galore. That's what I've written down.
Yeah, basically we're just in like that bit from Home Alone. The pyramid is decked out with all sorts of booby traps, all sorts of shit. Evie's like strapped to a table because they're going to perform some sort of ritual. He brings out, I guess, enacts Moon's corpse and lies her down next to him. Lies her down next to Evie. And yeah,
They do the ritual, the ghost spirits come in, she wakes up, Evie's screaming, little zombie mummies come around, the priests, remember the guys that we saw dragging away, they come and they're all still...
they're back.
Yeah, they're great. I love a twitchy performance. If it's just physical, just we twitchies.
I love a twitchy
I do love a
performance.
twitchy performance. Like, you ever seen Silent Hill? Need to watch Silent Hill. The nurses in that are like the mummies in this, but better. But anyway, love that. Physical, spooky, great.
So they basically they managed to get the book, but Evie's like strapped to the table, you know, they're all fighting each other, things are not going well, Rick's getting battered about like a sack of shit.
Absolutely. He's even like,
he's just
yeah,
an
I've got
actual
it.
punching bag. And I love that he's like our action hero, and his entire role in the sort of like final boss fight is just to get chucked a book.
Well, the thing
as
is,
like a distraction.
and you know what's so upsetting though is this is how Brendan Fraser kind of fucked up his leg and stopped working for years.
What?
It was not this one, it was the third one. He took so obviously he was doing a lot of the stunts or had to do a lot of it. He took so much damage that he like broke his knee, torn ligaments. That's why he put on weight and stuff as well, because he literally couldn't move for ages. And then other, you know, the personal like proper like harassment stuff that happened, all that happened roughly the same time. So he just kind of disappeared from Hollywood.
I love Brendan Fraser.
Oh, I love him
like,
too.
as a person. Like, he's just great.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a
My
great
parents
guy.
met him in Glasgow. Like,
So
like when he was filming Batgirl that never got released.
Oh no, it's so gutting.
Oh, we can get into that.
No.
That's ridiculous.
But
I wouldn't have watched it, but ridiculous they didn't release it.
what then happens is that we've got Jonathan trying to decipher the hieroglyphics and taking so much time to do it.
And then
This is like, so Swanny has ADHD, like, must do.
right, outed. Nah,
Outed on the
probably.
podcast, yeah.
You can probably tell.
With this, Jonathan reading the book and Evie trying to get him to stay on task because her life is at stake.
Yeah, she's literally getting chased around a little labyrinth by an axe in the moon trying to stab her.
Yeah, and Jonathan's like, oh, what one's the bird one again? Oh, what does this one mean? Da 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 da. It's like reading it, and she's like,
Someone's like,
Jonathan, focus.
Oh, this reminds. Oh, yeah, you know that. That's the word. Well, that makes sense because you know when I was actually reading this, you're like, Swanny, fucking, I'm about to be stabbed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually he reads it out and takes control of the soldiers.
Yeah.
He takes control of some of the soldiers, like these, like the Pharaoh's guards that we saw. I think have now been brought out on Imhotep's side. But by Jonathan reading this inscription out, they turn and kill an axe in the moon. And then Imhotep is like, right, you to Jonathan. And he's like, me, and just drops the book and fucking runs. And then Rick gets in the fight. Blah blah blah.
Yes, so Rick gets in the fight, but once the words have been spoken out loud, you know, they're like, whoa, I thought this was meant to kill this dude.
Yeah, because they get Evie to do it eventually.
Yeah. But it makes him mortal. So Rick stabs him. And the moment where you just hear the knife go into someone and you're like, oh my God, did Rick get stabbed? Did the mummy get stabbed? Obviously the mummy got stabbed. But that's him, he's dead. And then this sort of like incredible CGI death carriage, like driven by horses, and I mean, maybe it's the cats. It should be the cats.
It actually happens before he gets stabbed because that's when they take his immortal soul. They take his immortal soul back, but it's still within that sequence. They come down again, very vivid. That fucking staircase, fucking this chariot coming down, getting dragged away. I also remember him just running after, like, no, don't take my immortal soul.
Cammy came out with such a good comment last night as well, where he was like, "That's your dad running when he's missed the Amazon to
in his pants."
because he just runs up the stairs, and like he's always got these robes on and everything like that. So normally he looks quite like, you know, grand and majestic, but the robes have been lost in the heat of the battle. So it literally just looked like he's got like a wee pair of black boxers on. Your bald dad running up the steps.
Oh, did I take my Amazon?
You forgot one of the races.
Oh no, didn't I fucked it. I can't think of something funny. What's something funny?
Anyway, so Imhotep's done. We're done with Imhotep. They're like, let's get the fuck out of this pyramid. Is it Jonathan or Benny? Classic. It could be either one of them. Accidentally sets off this like.
Oh, it's Jonathan.
Yeah, it's Chekhov's booby trap within a pyramid that was mentioned briefly at the start of the film, that the entire city of Hamunaptra was rigged to disappear and self-destruct at the press of a button.
Yeah.
Which appears to be a completely, like, it's so funny because he puts his bag down on top of like a bit of stone sticking out of a wall, but it just looks like, you know, like
the rest of the place.
like the rest of it. Yeah, I'm like, why would you hide the self-destruct button? Like,
On
I
a
get
thing that you could
hide
sit
it,
on very.
But why would you hide it in plain sight? Like, anyone could have leaned on that.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough. Of course, it would be Jonathan. It would be Swanny.
So-
But to be fair, like, how did they survive years and years and years of civilization with no one like leaning on this random brick?
Why is there no kind of like, again, the whole like no fear, no anxiety, no like, oh, let's just like tiptoe out of this place so I don't fuck up anything else. Everyone's just like, whatever. I'm just gonna lean on anything. Like, I'm not gonna guard my fucking settlement in case the fucking ghoul squad show up again.
If it was me, I would definitely relax.
Film, man.
I would definitely just go, oh my God, guys, how we did it, and then just like set a fire.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like, so two things that Jonathan does just before he does that, but he also drops the fucking book into the weird gooey liquid lake. And then Evie/Abby's like, Swanny, what the fuck? You fucking just dropped the book. And I'm just like, and Rick's like, gotta go.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
And meanwhile, during this whole last sequence, we should say Benny has slipped away and he's been stealing gold and he's been loading up the camels and he's about to leave and then his greed overtakes him and he goes in to get some more gold.
Yeah.
So as they're all leaving, the place is collapsing.
Yeah, so the place is collapsing. We should also mention that, like, in the pursuit of all of this, they walk into a room at one point, which is basically like that classic, like, oh my God, and here was the treasure. The treasure was real. It wasn't just a book. It wasn't just the canopic jars. There's an actual room, wall to wall. Like, I haven't really seen the Indiana Jones films, but I feel like it's in that. There's something very similar to this in the Goonies. Have you ever seen National Treasure?
Yeah.
They do this and that as well. Like, it's just a room full of gold. So obviously,
Aladdin's got it.
Aladdin, yeah, it's like an Aladdin's cave. Bendy's losing his mind about this. He can't stop going back for more gold. Then the place starts to collapse. They're all getting out. Last chopper out, Saigon. The walls are like closing in on them. So they're all getting out one by one, and it's Benny and it's Rick. Rick gets out, just manages to make it out, and he's like reaching his hand out, ready to pull Benny out, and Benny just doesn't quite make it in time. So there's bye Benny.
Yeah, the final goodbye Benny. And I love it because even though they've tried to kill each other and they've been dicks, in that last little moment, if it had been roles reversed, Benny would not have stopped for him. But Rick he still extends that last little, Benny, come on. And I don't know, it's quite touching. It's quite real. And I like it. And of course, Benny can't escape. He can't. He has to have his comeuppance.
Yeah.
So Benny dies with the lights going out.
In his
He gets
cavern of
scoffed
treasures.
by all the scarabs.
Yeah, the scarabs eat him alive.
Yeah, scarabs eat him. So yeah, bad ending for Benny. But Jonathan, Evie, and Rick managed to make it out on some camels.
Yeah.
Which we questioned, have they just been there hanging out
since the locusts?
Because there was more than 3.
Yeah. So whose camels are they?
Yeah, but like, are those the camels they rode in on the first day? Have
Maybe.
they just been standing there waiting for someone to come back?
How did they get back?
What's going to happen?
In the first place?
Yeah.
Did Benny bring them? Surely he didn't bring all of them.
But
he only went with the motel.
But Benny, they got lifted by the sandstorm.
Oh, I don't know.
But anyway, doesn't really matter.
But anyway, they're on the camels. They're like, oh, well, we went on this big adventure, but we didn't get any treasure. And Rick's like, I think this, love is the real treasure that we had all along.
Doesn't say it like that.
Yeah,
you made it worse than it was. But yes, that's the idea.
That's the vibe. They have a little smooch. They're riding a camel together. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan's just like raging because he's like, well, that was a lot of hassle for me. And
I'd be like
that was a lot of hassle,
and
now you're winching my sister.
Now it's my sister, and I've not even got a fucking gold cup. Fuck's this all about?
It would be me and like some guy. Like, oh, all cuddled up on the camel, and meanwhile Swanny's just like complaining about having a shite time.
Didn't get my gold. But
Abby, I asked for one thing. Oh, I will go learn all. You got to learn all your wee secret Egypt things. You got to go on a big adventure. You got to go off with a sexy man. And what have I got? Nothing. No gold for Swanny. Aye, fine. No, that's fine. See how it is. Not getting any patter out yous either. You just want to have a wee kiss. Just going to ignore Swanny the whole way back to Cairo. Well, that's fine. Jabbing me with your wee stick with the camel.
And then, as if serendipity, God himself, I would then look around and be like, oh, wait now, guys, because the camels that they've actually got on are Benny's camels that he's loaded up with gold, and there's a little twinkle. They do have the treasure after all, and they get to ride into the sunset.
Yay.
Alternative reality in which they get trapped in there and Benny manages to get out.
Great.
He's packed up about 8 different camels with gold.
What is he going to do?
What is his plan to transport all of those camels?
He's going to be wrangling them. He's
He
getting
has to take them
do you know what's
back.
happening?
He has to
He's
take
getting
them back
robbed.
One by one.
One by one, and he comes back in the whipped about, and he's just chasing these camels about
Nah, he's just getting robbed. That's what's happening. He's just getting robbed every time. Robbed every single time. The same bandit, same highwayman.
Trying to follow these camels about the desert, trying to get all his gold back. Oh,
That would be a
so
great
funny.
sequel.
That would be funny.
Oh, also, last thing we should say, we think that Obed Fahir, I think, or how do you pronounce it, the head of the Magi, we think he's died fighting off some of the zombies, and he's actually alive. And he's like, guys, he's fucking did it. Lost all my pals, lost everyone, but I'm going to go off into the distance as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This very kind of nicely leads on to, I think, what I'd like my closing statement on what I thought the film is.
Go for it.
Right? Because he basically is like, well done, guys, you did it. I consider you one of us now because what you did was so incredible, right? And I get it. They broke the curse that they've been kind of defending this all these years and blah, 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 blah. But all they've done, really, is come, right? And they've just done the whole kind of classic white person thing of fucking up all of these like ancient artifacts. Nobody can access any of the artifacts are now inside because it's all sealed inside, right? They've blown up Egypt. You've got multiple men who may be brothers, maybe husbands, you know, who are dead now. So they're going to have to break all that news, right? They have fucked it in every single respect. And then they get a wee like handshake and a good job. They fucked it.
They fucked Egypt.
They fucked it. And like, yeah, I get it. They broke the curse, fair enough, whatever. But this could have been a planned thing. Somebody, you know, maybe the what are they called again?
The Magi.
The Magi. Maybe they were working on it. You know, they were like, what would be the best way around this? You know, least fatalities. We want to do this as like, you know, cleverly as possible. And these guys have just come in and just spunked all over it.
Or, alternatively, that was the Magi's plan all along. They're like, we've lost too many of our own good people to do this. These white people won't get the hell out of our country. Fuck it. You know what?
Let them.
Oh, don't attack. Oh, don't go to the ancient city with treasure. Oh, don't go there. Oh, don't find the mystery. And they're fucking doing it. They've done it, and then they'll die.
I did think about this when we were discussing it earlier, because I was like, the Magi seem to know way more about life than these idiots. I'm surprised they've not managed to sort out this shit before. They've always known it's been there. That I realised that, like, in order to set in like the chain of events in place to make this happen, you've got to bring him back to get rid of him completely. I mean, the mummy does literally return, hence the second film. But like, as far as this film's concerned, he's gone. But you know, the guys who opened the sarcophagus got salt acid blasted. Like, death will come on swift wings to anyone who opens the box.
They fuck up Cairo.
Like, they've got to, but I mean, what I mean is, even in order to solve the problem, you've got to sacrifice quite a few numbers. It would be hilarious if this was all engineered by the Magi to be like, well, on you go.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Yeah, so
knock yourselves
go nuts.
out.
I don't want a hand in this.
Few different ideas for the ending. Up to interpretation, I guess, which I love. Right.
Ratings.
5. Very middle ground. It's like okay as a film. I'm never ever gonna watch it again.
But you are gonna watch the second one because I'm gonna make you.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it.
I'll be busy on my phone the entire time.
It'll be locked in a cupboard. Now that you've said that, for me, it's an interesting one because I think the first half is stronger than the second half for me because I love the build up. I love the atmosphere, the spookiness. I really think that works really well. All the race to Hamunaptra, all that. I think it goes off the rails a little bit as soon as we awaken the mummy and kind of go back to Cairo, which it still works because there's nothing I really take out, to be fair. I would just maybe rewrite some of that bit, but either way, I don't mind. But it's got such a nostalgia for me, and I do think it is in some ways kind of like if someone said to me, hey, I think The Mummy's a perfect movie, I could actually entertain that notion as being kind of legit because for what it's trying to do and how it's doing it, I think there's not really a misstep with a lot of it in terms of like just vibes.
Yeah,
it's cultivating vibes. It is ridiculous. It's kind of amazing. It's not perfect. I can hear the argument. So
I would
I'm really
like to counteract that perfect point just like so that I don't forget because this was a note that I made. Probably in the middle of this film with the fifth fucking gunfight they had. This film just started screaming and never stopped.
Yeah, I love a scream.
Yeah.
Which is not perfect for me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's doing a lot. and it could have been so much worse. And it's got such charm, and it's really got a lot going for it. So I really struggle with what to actually give it. But probably going to settle now because I feel like I've got a newfound kind of settle. I'm going to give it an 8. I think I've always given it a 7 before this. I think on this rewatch I'm going to give it that 8 because the way I was saying to you last night is I gave Highlander an 8. So I kind of need to give The Mummy an 8 as well.
Yeah.
Very different reasons though.
Yeah.
Very different reasons. But I think there's a lot of nostalgia, but I think it is actually just a great adventure film in the vein of Indiana Jones.
Fair. As come as a surprise to no one, I obviously give this film a 10. I mean, I literally this film meant so much to me when I was a kid. I really identified with it. I ignited a passion and learning about ancient Egypt for me that lasted throughout my entire childhood. Literally this was Nancy Drew, Evie from The Mummy, Kirsty from the Babysitter's Club, and probably Hermione from Harry Potter because I was reading those books at the time as well. Those were my heroes, and I just love this film so much. It's it's a romp. I love a romp, right? Mm-hmm. It's an adventure. It's romance. It's practical. It's hokey. It's camp. It's just I love this film.
So many rogues.
So much. It just feels so and I think this is exactly where it doesn't do this for you, but it feels so it's got so much sustenance for me.
Yeah.
And I just feel when you eat a good meal and then you're really satisfied afterwards, that's how I feel watching this film. And I noticed in the first 20 minutes of the film, the section where they're on the boat and it's all going off and gunfight and all that's great. I literally was sitting watching the film like this.
Yeah, same. We looked at each other at one point and I was just because I remember going, I can't be bothered watching The Mummy. Literally 20 seconds and I was I'm watching The Mummy.
Smile on my face. Watching the film,
same.
I was just thrilled by it. I was literally sitting there with a big idiot smile on my face.
Because I noticed you didn't and I noticed I was doing it. I was this is lame but great.
I love that a film can do that because it's, I've seen films that have made me cry and I didn't even think it was a good film. Marley and Me. I cried at Marley and Me. I'm not even a dog person and I don't think that's a good film, but I cried because it was sad, right? But I think more rarely, a film has to be really good for you to watch it with a smile on your face because that is a very genuine emotion. And I love this film. So yeah, it gets a 10 for me. Probably not a shock.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we're moving on to fun facts now.
Yeah, sure.
What was their fun fact?
Right. Cammy, what's our time at?
2.5 hours.
Fuck's sake.
So
we can.
Oh, right. So it's just over 2 hours.
Right. So why don't we do?
So we're probably sitting at 2.
Right. Okay. So
Let's not forget that Brendan Fraser almost died making this film.
yeah, the hanging sequence. I've read this before and I've read it again. They actually dropped him. I don't think he was fully. There was supports and stuff, but they didn't fully work because he was literally, according to Rachel Wise, he was literally not breathing. He had to be resuscitated. Not just he got hurt, resuscitated. Not even what's her name getting stuck in the glass box and Now You See Me. Not even almost drowned. Literally died.
Actually died.
Literally died and got resuscitated.
Fucking shaving your head is Anne Hathaway, man.
Imagine you hadn't
That's something you should dream
imagine
about.
you hadn't put the tape in the camera that day. Brendan Fraser's
buddy, you gotta do it again, man. Fuck's sake.
Oh my god, is that the shot they used?
Yeah,
It must have been because surely
They
we're
wouldn't
going
do
to
it
convince them to do it again.
No, I think it was.
Can you imagine if they were actually this time, if you could look a little bit less really dead, it's quite a light-hearted film. That's a bit much.
We're trying to go for a 12
It was almost a fucking snuff piece.
Almost.
But
so
sorry, yeah.
No, I was going to say. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say about the insurance policies.
Go for it. And then I'm going to do one last thing, then we'll be done.
So the other thing, this film was just playing fast and loose with people's lives, apparently, because they were filming it. It was actually filmed in North Africa, and but never in Egypt, and yeah, because it was the desert, they were worried that someone was, quote, going to get lost and wander into somewhere with less friendly, that's a less friendly environment, basically. I love the idea that they're one singular person is going to wander in the desert and end up in another country.
Bendy Shybag.
It would be Bendy
I love
Shybag.
that they just had no confidence in their fucking location scouts or their transportation team. They're one of us might get lost in the desert.
Surely that's a one-time conversation. Hey, man, see when we're in the desert, don't
Just
go
don't wander
wandering
off.
off into the
But
desert.
I think it must have been such a hectic schedule. They just knew if they're coming from there and they're coming from there and they're going there, they need to know this, but they don't have this map. someone might get
Also, apparently they're all
abducted.
insanely dehydrated.
Yeah,
so they
yeah, yeah.
maybe just thought somebody was actually just going to get mad and wander in the desert. But because they were worried about terrorism, so they actually took out insurance policies on the lives of all the main actors against like terrorism threats in case anything happened, but didn't tell them until after the film had finished shooting, which I think is insane.
It
It's
is
very
insane.
roguish from that director.
Very
He
roguish.
made it a rogue.
Oh, potentially. Yeah, so, okay, who we putting for a rogue? We'll do that quickly then. So rogue, most ridiculous character or most out of place character that has their own insulated little implied narrative. The best implied narrative, I'm going to say for me, probably Winston or the Warden.
I'm going Benny.
But Benny as well. But is Benny more the villain? Benny is the
No,
Benny's
Penny's
the
not.
Fuck it,
rogue, man.
Benny's the rogue. Yeah, okay, cool. I didn't consider him because I thought him the villain, but obviously Imhotep's the villain. So yeah, Benny.
You're
Benny
giving
Winston.
Benny a lot of credit calling him the villain.
I know.
Bless his
Benny-
cotton socks,
Benny,
man.
yeah, Benny or Winston. It's a toss up for me, but since you guys are going for Benny, I'll go with Benny too. Okay, last thing I'll end it with is just Roger Ebert comment on it. Gave it a positive review, and he said, "There's hardly a thing I can say in its favour, except that I was cheered by nearly every minute of it. I cannot argue for the script, the direction, the acting, or even the mummy, but I can say that I was not bored, and sometimes I was unreasonably pleased."
Aw,
I
yeah.
think that sums up how me and you feel
Yeah.
towards it as well.
Yes, well, I think that brings us to a close. Thank you so much for watching our episode on The Mummy. We will be back next week with, I believe we're watching Tall Girl.
Yeah.
Ridiculous film.
I'm excited and I can't be fucked at the same time. But yeah, see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.